Football League, and perhaps their name will become synonymous with success.
Number one is I think it's really built on character. We've got quality guys, we've got good football players, but they're also good people, and our work ethic's been outstanding. Otherwise, I don't think we could have overcome the experience that we've been pitted against to start the season out with. And then the play of Doug Flutie and the offense and some of the outstanding rookies we've had has been outstanding this year.
Well, I think the big secret right now has been the consistency of our team, and the players who replaced our injured players have come in, and really our level of play hasn't dropped off. And when that happens, usually things go real well.
TSN presents the CFL Game of the Week. Today's game brought to you by GMC Trucks, the trucks more people lean on. And by Diet 7-Up. It's cool to be clear. And it's an absolutely spectacular day in southern Alberta. Temperature in the mid-20s as the Lions come to Calgary to take on the Stampeders. Friday night at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, Reggie Taylor went in from 7 yards out. Edmonton won a nail-biter over the Hamilton Tiger-Cats to stay in this tight race for first place in the West. Just how close is it? If the BC Lions beat Calgary this afternoon, it will be a three-way tie for top spot. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to McMahon Stadium and what should be a great football game. I'm Gord Miller. The BC Lions have passed virtually at will this season in the CFL. I say virtually because one team has contained them, the Calgary Stampeders, the team that has allowed fewer passing touchdowns than any other in the CFL this season. It promises to be a great offense against a great defense, and whoever wins should have a lot to say about where the Western Final will be played this season. To talk more about the game, let's hear now from the men who will call it, John Wells and Leif Pedersen.
All right, Gord, we think it is a terrific matchup here this afternoon as the Stampeders, who have been in first place all season long, may have company by the end of the day with the BC Lions coming on strong.
Well, you know, it's like a playoff game today, John. It's the 14th week of the season, but it's truly exciting, and we get to watch one of the great players this afternoon, Doug Flutie.
Doug Flutie has been the most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League to this stage of things, and I don't think that's going to change here this afternoon.
Well, the most difficult thing about Doug Flutie is trying to stop him. Here you see him running for a touchdown against Ottawa, but really this isn't the toughest part about Flutie. It's stopping him running around in the backfield when he goes to throw the football.
So, Leif, how do you stop this guy?
Well, if I was the defensive coordinator, first of all, you have to have solid coverage in the secondary and expect to stay with your men for at least 4 seconds, and then, of course, a relentless effort from your front four. And, you know, we're not talking about a lot of sacks this afternoon. I think it's misleading to think that you can sack Flutie a lot, but to just put a lot of pressure on him. Try and get a hand in his face just when he's throwing, and if you do that, hopefully you maybe get a break in the secondary.
Now, can the Calgary Stampeders do that for the 4th time this season here today?
Well, I think they've got the front four to do it. Guys like Will Johnson and Walter Ballard, they are relentless, and that is a good front four. Secondary can't make any mistakes against Flutie, although 3 times this year they've been good against him.
Well, the BC Lions have beaten every team in Canadian football but one, the Calgary Stampeders. Gord?
This game features the top 2 receivers in the Canadian Football League. Alan Pitts is number 1 with 1,300 yards. Matt Clark is next with nearly 1,200. They promise to put on a show this afternoon. The matchup this afternoon has another Flutie, Darren Flutie, brother of Doug, recently added to the BC lineup. He's been outstanding. It'll be Carl Anthony's job to contain him in the secondary. Coming up next, the Lions and Stampeders. Who shall be first? We'll find out. The opening kickoff is next, live on TSN.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium, just in time for the kickoff. It is taken by Mark Guy inside the Stampeder 20-yard line. He is out across the 30 at the 32 and brought down by Lonnie Finch. Our 1991 season began with the Stampeders and the Lions at BC Place. A 39-34 thriller for Calgary. Doug Flutie threw for 430 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he lost the football game that afternoon. The Stamps have won 3 straight over the BC Lions.
They've all been exciting games, though. I mean, BC has come up in the short end 3 times, but their performance in each of those games has been spectacular. Doug Flutie.
We'll see what Gilbert Renfro can do for the Calgary Stampeders on first down. Renfro with time to throw as he slides it for Keevan Jenkins. Jenkins out across the 40 to the 41. And Ken Petway makes the stop. It is an absolutely perfect afternoon for football. I can't remember ever being in Calgary for a game on as nice an afternoon as this. 22 degrees and a slight breeze. I've seen some nice afternoons here, but I've seen some windy ones too.
Yeah, not in October, but truly a beautiful day to play football.
The gain is 8. This is 2nd and 2 for the Stampeders. Renfro has a first down to Alan Pitts.
Pass complete to Alan Pitts.
Ken Petway reacting to push Pitts out of bounds after a 5-yard gain.
The number 1 receiver in the Canadian Football League after 13 weeks is number 18, Alan Pitts. That is his 89th reception. That is tops. He has over 1,300 yards in receiving. That is also tops. And when you're Gilbert Renfro and this is only your 4th start, I'm sure you're going to look to the number 1 guy in a hurry, as he did.
It is a first down for the Stampeders at the 46. Renfro near side for Sean Beals, and he underthrew him. No catch.
Renfro's pass. Sean Beals incomplete.
This is the 3rd start for Gilbert Renfro.
For the BC Lions.
And there is one change this week along the offensive line, with Pat Hines getting the start ahead of Doug Davies, but everything else is intact, at least for starters here today. Mark Guy gets a start at wide receiver with Carl Bland on the other side. Pitts and Beals the inside receivers. And the runners are Andy McVeigh and Kevan Jenkins. 2nd and 10, Calgary. Renfro on a roll. And he has Carl Bland. That should be a first down. Number 85, Carl Bland, 31 catches, 499 yards so far.
You know, it's funny, in talking to Bob Obilovich, the head coach of the Lions yesterday, he said, we don't have to worry about Gilbert Renfro running outside the pocket. We're going to have a standing target. But today, on the first series, he's able to get outside and away from the pressure Stuart Hill. Carl Bland with a nice job to get open, and they keep this drive going. But Gilbert Renfro, who doesn't like to run, shows some pretty good ability to get to the outside there.
1st and 10 for the Stampeders now at the BC 52. First carry for Kevan Jenkins. He turns the corner and is forced out after about a 4-yard gain.
5 yards on the play.
BC Lions have made all kinds of changes on defense this season, and here's the way they line up today, with Derek McCready getting his 2nd start in the middle. Hill, Poe, Johnson joining him up there. Some great linebackers in Brigance Holmes and Wetmore. And the secondary with one change this week. Lonnie Finch is in, replacing the injured Chris Major. On 2nd down, Renfro looks to the other side. Jenkins made the catch and then dropped it. No, they rule it no catch. Norman Jefferson, pretty good pop on Kevan Jenkins.
That's what zone coverage allows you to do. Norman Jefferson had the short, flat area, and that means he can look right into the backfield and see where Gilbert Renfro is going to throw the ball. As soon as he releases it to Kevan Jenkins, Jefferson is on the move. He arrives at the same time the ball does. He's able to knock it loose. That is an outstanding defensive play, but the zone defense allows you to do that. You don't have to chase one man around the field. You can see things develop in front of you.
Here's Brent Madich on 3rd down. Jefferson waiting at his goal line. He's out across the 6. A 7-yard return. Good punt by Madich. 47 yards. Net 40 for the Stampeders. No score early in the opening quarter.
Hey, you're gonna love it.
There's more than one Flutie to worry about this year in the Canadian Football League with the BC Lions. Darren has been quite an addition for this squad. This afternoon in the matchup, he goes up against Carl Anthony.
The thing I have to do with Darren is, you know, if I'm on him man-to-man, when Doug scrambles, the thing I have to do is just stay with Darren wherever he goes, because he gets open a lot when Doug scrambles. And if we're in zone, we you know, just have to stay in our zone and lock up.
Well, from what I've seen of Carl on film, he seems to sit on a lot of routes and jump maybe your out or your inside routes. So I think today as a team, we're going to have to try to pressure him a little more, maybe go upstairs a couple times so it'll give us a little cushion, and maybe we can start running the outs and ins.
2 Fluties in this lineup this afternoon. That'll be a little confusing. We've got 4 Johnsons in the lineup. Curtis, Alondra, and Will for Calgary. And a guy by the name of Reggie Johnson on defense for the BC Lions. And we've got 2 Matt Clarks, both playing for the BC Lions. So we'll try and keep our Fluties, our Clarks, and our Johnsons all straightened around here.
Oh, you'll get it. Don't worry about it.
BC with the first down. Beginning this drive at the 7-yard line. Chris Skinner has the first carry for the BC Lions. And he's out near the 10.
Second down, BC Lions.
Calgary Stampeders are 5th in rushing defense coming into this game, and I know in chatting with Doug Flutie, although he loves to throw the football, that is obvious. They do feel like they can run the football against this Calgary front 4 and linebacking crew, and this is a good spot in the field to try and establish that deep in their own territory.
Not much there. A gain of 2. This is 2nd and 8 for the Lions. Now at their own 9-yard line. Doug Flutie. A little high for brother Darren Flutie, number 82. He got his hands on it and tipped it over the defender. It could have been a little more dangerous had he not tipped it over the hands of Carl Anthony.
Good pass pattern by Darren Flutie. He gets pressure right into Carl Anthony quick, gets Anthony out of his back pedal and works on the hook. The ball was a little overthrown, but nevertheless, pretty precise pattern by Darren Flutie. That is what he is noted for, although he is sneaky fast, and he told you he would like to try and get in behind Carl Anthony to loosen up the coverage. He is sneaky fast, but very precise on those pass patterns.
Here's Luke Pasanglia, his first punt of the afternoon. He usually has a pretty good day here at McMahon Stadium. Low snap, and this is not a deep kick. Mark Guy waiting for it. And the bounce favors the BC Lions as Guy picks it up at the 55 and then draws a flag.
Punt by Louis Pasaglia. Recovered by Mark Guy.
Mark Guy is starting wide receiver this afternoon. Slightly shaken up on that kick return. Gord?
Earlier this afternoon, the Rough Riders kicked it off in Ottawa as Saskatchewan took on Ottawa, and Damon Allen goes in from 19 yards out, right now playing in the 3rd quarter. The Eastern Riders lead the Western ones 31-13.
Ah, a little revenge. As Ottawa tries to beat up on the Saskatchewan Rough Riders in a playoff race here in the Western Division. Looking at the Calgary Stampeders with Carl Bland and Mark Guy as the wide receivers here. Derek Crawford is expected to be back in the lineup next week. So it's a big afternoon for these guys to try and impress. Number 6, Mark Guy, shaken up here.
It's hard to tell how he got hurt there. Didn't seem like anything happened to him, but I think it's a good point you make. One of these 2 fellows probably next week will not play, and Carl Bland has been very consistent since he's joined the club. In fact, he's caught a pass in every one of the 9 games that he has played, but Derek Crawford will be ready next week, and one of these guys must go.
1st and 10 for the Stampeders on the exchange. Doing reasonably well with field position here from the 51, Gilbert Renfro. Not the most mobile of quarterbacks, but he's got a great arm. Not in evidence there as he fired for Keyban Jenkins. And Jenkins was covered by O.J. Brigance, or rather Bruce Holmes.
It's no secret this afternoon for the BC Lions on defense. They feel like they can get a lot of pressure on Gilbert Renfro. His offensive line has given up the most sacks of any in the CFL, and Gilbert Renfro, not noted as a running quarterback, although in the first series got away from pressure, but BC Lions want to bring an extra guy, maybe 5 rushers each time, and put as much heat on a stationary target as they can.
2nd and 10 for the Stampeders. Renfro stands in and looks deep, intending that for Dave Sapungis, and it was over his head. Ken Petway was covering on Sapungis that time, and the Stampeders get set to kick it away. Now, who knows Gilbert Renfro better in Canadian football than his old coach Bob Obilovich of the BC Lions?
Yeah, he sure does. He had Gilbert in Toronto when Gilbert had some successful seasons, and Obi figures he's the best one to put together a strategy against him. So far, it's working.
Darvin Jefferson away from one, but not the next wave of Calgary Stampeder tacklers. A 37-yard punt, and Dave Sapungis led the tacklers after a 2-yard return.
Horror flicks this week. Game films of Doug Flutie. And the million-dollar question in the CFL this year is, how do you stop the BC quarterback?
Well, I don't think you stop Doug Flutie. I think you'd be foolish to try to do that. I think what you have to do is limit his big play potential. And, if anybody's done it, our defense has. We have big people that run very well, and we've gotten after him pretty good. So to try to stop him, it's impossible. But to try to limit the fact that he's so good after the fact is something you can do by containing pressure.
Well, Wally Buono's had a great career in Calgary. These Stampeder guys are the best-dressed coaches in the Canadian Football League down there, Leaf. Look at these trendy outfits, button down.
Yeah, they're Indian cotton button-down shirts. They've got their initials on the pocket and everything. All the coaches wear that. I mean, they are a very GQ-style coaching staff. I was teasing Huffnagel and Jeff Tedford before the game. They look good.
On first down, Doug Flutie is picked out by Junior Thurman. The pass was intended for the newcomer, Nigel Codrington. Great name for a football player. But he got beaten here by Junior Thurman.
Junior Thurman, the most consistent of the Calgary defensive backs throughout the course of 1991. He stays right on the inside hip of a very speedy receiver, Nigel Codrington. He makes a great catch. He has his 5th interception of the year and sets up Gilbert Renfro with the first turnover of the ballgame right at midfield.
Now, Nigel Codrington was a cornerback in college. He's just converted to a receiver in the last year or so. Looked like he might have been a cornerback on that play. First down for the Stampeders after the turnover. Penalty markers down as Renfro finds Keevan Jenkins. He's immediately pinned by Bruce Holmes. We got a little holding down there. Number 62, Pat Hines, I think is guilty.
Holding, Calgary number 62. First down repeated.
You caught him, Wellesley. Pat Hines, the center, getting the start today. Referee George Black gives you the call, and really a problem area for the Stampeders in the last few weeks has been protecting the quarterback. Before that, they had a Danny Barrett that could run around and get away from some pressure, but now Gilbert Renfro for the last 4 weeks has been a stationary target, and it's made it much more difficult for his offensive lineman to block for him.
Mark Guy is back in the game. He's the wide receiver to the bottom of your screen. First and 20 as Renfro gets out of the pocket and fired for Alan Pitts.
Renfro's pass intended for Alan Pitts.
Catchable football, and Pitts didn't hang on.
Remember a couple of series ago, the good hit by Norman Jefferson on Keevan Jenkins out of the backfield. Hey, the other guys on the team, they see that too. And as Alan Pitts just stood there and waited what seemed like an eternity for that ball to get there, I'm sure he was thinking about that BC secondary. Yeah, who's coming? And that's a ball he should have caught.
It'll be 2nd and 20 for the Stampeders now back at the 45. The Lions can hold them here. This interception thrown by Flutie gave the Stampeders back the ball. Will not be too costly. Another flag is down, and Pitts is the intended receiver again.
Renfro's pass intended for Alan Pitts, incomplete.
Renfro decked on the play.
Calgary offensive line having a very difficult time handling the front four of the BC Lions so far. Derek McCready, 79, gets in there initially, and I do believe he was the fellow that was held.
Penalty against the Stampeders is declined, so Manich is in, standing back at his 30. Jefferson has it rolled by him. He lost a good 15 yards in field position there. A 47-yard kick and no return, and Jefferson did not look sharp there.
No, that's something that I can't believe. I see this happen so many games. Why the punt returners allow that ball to hit the ground? I mean, when I was returning punts, honestly, I would line up about 35 yards deep. Now, if the guy nails it 45 or 50, you have plenty of time to recover because it's usually going to be a high ball with a lot of air time. And why the guys stay back 40 and 45 yards is beyond me.
Yeah, that's because you were fearless and speedy in those days.
No, but I mean, it drives coaches insane to let that ball bounce to get an extra 15 yards when it shouldn't happen.
First and 10 for the Lions. John Volpe's first carry of the afternoon. He breaks a couple of tackles, and Volpe will have a first down. Peterson forced him out, and there's a flag down. 10 yards for John Volpe. An outstanding rookie runner with the BC Lions. Up front, No changes for the BC Lions along the offensive line. Flutie and Codrington, the wide receivers. Matt Clark and Trevathan, the Montana connection, are in at slot back. Skinner and Volpe are the running backs for Doug Flutie. The penalty goes against the Calgary Stampeders. Face mask call on Greg Peterson.
So that'll add 15 more onto a pretty nifty run by John Volpe. Those are his numbers coming into the game. We will monitor that. He should cross the 1,000-yard mark today. A nice accomplishment in his rookie season.
Volpe caught in the backfield. Mark Singer, number 44, gets to John Volpe.
Second down, BC Lions.
Well, let's check out the Calgary defense with Walter Ballard, Kent Warnock, Shreko Zizakovic, and Will Johnson up front. And more Johnsons with Curtis and Alondra joining Singer as linebackers. Anthony and Thurman are the corners. Leonard and Hall, the halfbacks. And Greg Peterson, the veteran, an All-Canadian at safety. Gain is 1. Flutie from the shotgun on 2nd and 9. And he has Darren Flutie for a first down out of midfield. Good reaction by number 82, Darren Flutie, to come back to the football.
And once again, he goes to the hook pattern, too, and, you know, he's no clear victor so far in this matchup, but Darren Flutie, extremely precise, consistent receiver, 13-yard pickup right there. And watch how he works against Carl Anthony. Straightens him up right there, gets him out of the back pedal. See, that's the key. And now he works back to his brother Doug. The ball is on target. Nice catch and run.
1st and 10, the Lions now at the 53. Volpe carries again, and he is across the 50, down to about the 48 for 4.
Tackled by second down.
Early, well, there's 6 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. No score on the board yet for the Lions and the Stampeders in this showdown for top spot in the Western Division. Calgary coming in with a record of 9-4. The BC Lions are 1 win behind at 8-5. Second and 6, Flutie near side. Trevathan makes the catch, and that's good for a first down. Junior Thurman supplying the coverage, a 7-yard gain. Well, you got your Johnsons, and you got your Clarks, and you got some Fluties out there. We've got Reggie Johnson, Will Johnson, Curtis Johnson, Alondra Johnson.
You got your Clarks, your Fluties, your Fluties.
You got your Matt Clarks and your Matt Clarks, and one's on defense and one's on offense, so that's fortunate there. 1st and 10, BC Lions. John Volpe again. And Volpe has not had a great running afternoon so far. The yards have been hard to come by. Will Johnson limiting that gain to 2.
Watch Mark Singer now. He's playing for the injured Matt Finley. Now, as Chris Skinner comes out to block him, he meets the block head on, slides to the inside, and makes a heck of a play on John Volpe. But Matt Finley, who was having a great year, he's out with knee ligaments. But watch Singer fight the block off right there. He makes the hit. Can't do it any better than that.
2nd and 8. Flutie for Trevathan. What a catch by Mike Trevathan with 2 defenders right there. Trevathan grabbed the football from Junior Thurman and Curtis Johnson, who had good coverage on him, I thought.
Boy, it's like he picked Junior Thurman's pocket. All of a sudden, this pass was just lofted in. Doug Flutie trying to get it over the top of Curtis Johnson, and as Junior Thurman reacts to it, he can't believe that Mike Trevathan made such a spectacular catch, but those are the kind of catches and big plays that keep drives going. Mike Trevathan last week with a great week, and now he gets to start again. He's been in and out of the lineup this year.
15 yards at the last play for the Lions with a first down at the 25. Volpe is slowed in the backfield. And I don't think he got anything. Shreko Zizakovic, your old pal, was helping out with the coverage there.
Oh, I like Shreko. Shreko's won a starting job with this club. He had a great preseason and allowed himself to work into this starting lineup. Of course, they play 2 Canadians on the defensive line with Shreko Zizakovic and Kent Warnock. That frees up an American. They play the extra American somewhere else.
Shreko with 5 quarterback sacks on the season. Flutie is hit as he tried to throw. Darryl Hall ball. Number 7 getting through. Here's how it looked to lead.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you got to take a chance on defense. The Calgary Stampeders do right here. Here's Darryl Hall. He fakes like he's going to be in coverage, and then boom, he comes, and he's going to be the one that hits Doug Flutie's arm just as he throws the football. You take a chance sometime. If you get there, great. If you don't, but this time, he knocks the ball away. That is solid defense by the Calgary Stampeders.
And the BC Lions will settle for a Lou Pasaglia field goal if he can put it through from 32 yards away. Sweet Lou is on target, and the BC Lions have the lead. Louis Pasaglia's 32nd field goal of the season. Anything to sell the seats and create a little excitement. Here's the Fez in action. He's over the BC Lions.
He's about 15 feet down to our left here, trying to stir up some excitement. He's been here all week. You know, he came in Wednesday for the governor meetings, and he decided he would stay all week here in Calgary and try and drum up some interest for this game.
They also want to be able to run 48 and 49 in the field. They got the strong tackle down almost inside eye on the guard, so we got to take the thing outside. 48 and 49.
BC Lions have the lead. It's 3-0 on a 32-yard Lou Pasaglia field goal with 3:05 to go in the opening quarter at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. A perfect day for football. This is Keevan Jenkins, and he is forced out at the 16.
60-yard kickoff. Keevan Jenkins, no yards on the return.
Well, we have a second, and we've been talking about Murray Pesum. He challenged the Calgary fans this week. He said, if you'll put 30,000 fans in the park, I'll donate $25,000 to Children's Hospital. Well, it became apparent today that that just would not come about, and Murray told me before the game leave, he said, would you mention on the air that I'm not leaving town without doing something, and he is going to donate a check for $5,000 to the Calgary Children's Hospital at halftime. Pretty classy gesture.
Absolutely right. 2:53. That's the time remaining in the opening quarter. And that's Keevan Jenkins on 1st and 10.
Jenkins, the ball carrier, gain of 2
Ran
yards
into
on
Keith
the play.
Poe, number 91.
Second down, Stamps.
Gain is 2. It'll be 2nd and 8. Stampeders are inside the 20. Gilbert Renfro. Carl Bland, and that'll be a Calgary first down. Bland made the catch in front of O.J. Brigance and Lonnie Finch, and that's a 15-yard pickup for Carl Bland.
On the coverage for the BC Lions.
Boy, has he ever been dependable since he has come to the Calgary Stampeders 9 games ago. He's got a ball in every game, and Gilbert Renfro stands tall in the pocket here. His offensive line does a nice job for him here. He's going to come right at you with that hook pattern to Carl Bland. The key for Bland works back to the quarterback, and he makes a nice catch.
Second catch of the afternoon for Carl Bland. Stampeders 1st and 10 at the 33. And this should be another first down as they rule it a catch at the 45. Carl Bland's 3rd of the afternoon, that time for 11.
Well, the key this afternoon, no doubt, will be how well can the Calgary Stampeders protect Gilbert Renfro. If they can give him time to throw, he certainly can get on a roll. He's got a tremendous arm, and he will be able to pick out his receivers downfield. So if they can protect him, Gilbert Renfro can have a nice afternoon.
Stampeders out at the 44 with a first down, trailing the BC Lions 3-0. First quarter at McMahon Stadium. It's Keevan Jenkins, and he ran smack dab into the middle linebacker, Bruce Holmes.
Boy, that's what you want out of your middle linebacker, to read the play, slide over from the middle spot, and then make the tackle. Here's Lloyd Fairbanks, a tremendous veteran with the Stampeders, working on Paul Wetmore. He works him to the outside. They create a hole, but Holmes was there so quickly to stuff it, and they only got a couple of yards on that play.
Fairbanks' 253rd CFL game this afternoon. 2nd and 7, Stampeders. Renfro hit from behind. He's lost the ball, and the BC Lions come up with it. Stuart Hill caused the problem, and Paul Wetmore comes up with the recovery. 36-35, and Wetmore has the fumble. As Renfro took a pretty good hit from Stuart Hill right here.
Yeah, they weren't getting the pressure from the front four, so they decided to bring the linebackers. That freed up Stuart Hill, and Gilbert Renfro never had a chance. The ball comes loose. Paul Wetmore has it. the BC Lions get their first turnover of the afternoon, and Gilbert Renfro really had no chance on this play at all. Stu Hill came free, the ball came loose, and the Lions get the turnover.
And it is 1st and 10 BC at the Calgary 25. Flutie for Flutie, and the other Flutie throws to the end zone. Oh, almost for Matt Clark. Doug to Darren to Matt. Almost.
Well, an interesting formation, too, where they put 4 receivers to the wide side of the field and faked the screen to Darren Flutie, and he had Matt Clark wide open. You see them laughing in the huddle. That could have been an easy one, but Darren threw a little too far. Doug's got to give him some tips. You know, Darren, take a little off that tip.
Had to take a little off the ball.
Yeah.
2nd and 10. Lions at the Stampeder 25. Should be the last play of the opening quarter. Shotgun. Flutie. Matt Clark down to the 10-yard line. Nope, he couldn't hang on.
Pretty good hit.
Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson and Curtis Johnson both met there, and that forced Matt Clark to drop the football.
So the opening quarter is done, and the BC Lions lead by 3. Ready for a BC Lion field goal try with Flutie holding for Lou Pasaglia again from 32 yards out. And Lou is 2 for 2 as the Lions move out in front of the Stampeders 6-0 at McMahon Stadium.
Calgary Stampeder, nothing.
So what's going on here this afternoon? 2 field goals so far, Leaf. The last time these 2 teams got together, 65 points on the scoreboard.
Well, they're playing good defense. There's been some good hitting out there. Look, you know, on that last series for BC Lions, a big hit kept Matt Clark from catching the football. Defense is prevailing here in the first quarter.
Let's check out the numbers with Gord Miller.
And the first quarter statistics are brought to you by General Motors. Calgary with the edge in net yards. But look at that, only 10 rushing yards for Calgary and 19 for BC. Each team has turned over the ball once. Interesting note about the Calgary defense. Wally Buono's been talking to Walter Ballard and Will Johnson about containing Flutie. Buono feels that his defensive tackles, Kent Warnock and Sreko Zizakovic, at 6'5" and 6'7" respectively, can really get their hands up in Flutie's face, and they've done a good job so far.
So really what that means is rush your ends wide and then get a good push upfield from your 2 tackles. That's good strategy.
Short kickoff from Lou Pasaglia. And this is the newcomer, Ken Watson. A long run to grab about 5 yards. Watson, a former member of the BC Lions.
Yeah, he was released last week and quickly scooped up by the Calgary Stampeders. Often teams will do that when they're going to play a team and try and get some secret information out of them. But he will play today in certain situations as a 6th defensive back. If he comes into the game, we'll certainly keep you aware of that.
Right now, it is the Stampeder offense on the field. 1st and 10 Calgary. Beginning at the 45. Decent field position for Gilbert Renfro, who throws to the far side for Carl Bland. Bland couldn't hang on to the ball, covered by Lonnie Finch.
Intended for Carl Bland, incomplete. Lonnie Finch on the coverage for the Lions.
Gilbert Renfro is really no rushing threat.
2nd down.
He carried twice last week and gained 3 yards against Saskatchewan.
You know, he'd love to have a big game today. I understand Danny Barrett will be available next week. Whether he will play or not is another thing, but he will be available to be back in the lineup. That is good news for the Stampeders.
Renfro lost the ball in the exchange from center Pat Hines. Markers are down.
Snap. Fumble. Flag.
No question about who the leader of the Calgary Stampeder football team is. Dan Barrett has been on the sidelines with a finger injury.
Number 14, penalty is declined. 3rd down.
So quickly, the ball goes back to the BC Lions.
Well, nevertheless, even with Danny Barrett out, the Stampeders still have played well enough. You know, at this point last year, they were 7-5-1 and in first place. This year, they are 9-4. Much better mark in 1991.
Here's Brent Maddich, stepping across his own 35 to left foot this one away. And this is Norman Jefferson retreating. Now Jefferson on the move. What a great return for Norman Jefferson, who gets out across the 40 to about the 42. Matic in on the tackle. The ball came loose, but the BC Lions have retained possession. A 54-yard punt by Matic and a nice 33-yard return by Norman Jefferson.
Well, the return team really worked hard to set up this return to the short side of the field for Norman Jefferson.
One player from each of the offense, defense, and special teams.
Everybody working hard. Might have been a little clip from Mike Trevathan at the beginning of this one, but the fellas set up the picket wall to the outside. Jefferson finds it, and he will turn the ball over nicely to Doug Flutie in pretty good field position outside their 40.
Lions from the 41 to be exact. First down. Good fake by Flutie, who rolls to his left and finds Trevathan, who finds first down territory. Stopped by Curtis Johnson, number 38.
The BC Lions put a lot of pressure on the Calgary defense when they put 4 receivers to the wide side of the field to your right on that screen, and then the play fake freezes everybody. That allows Mike Trevathan to find an open area against that zone. Easy pass to complete.
11 yards the gain, Leaf. Trevathan playing in his second straight game, his 10th of the season. Flutie on first down for John Volpe, who sweeps wide to the right, and Volpe narrows in on a first down, comes up a couple short. It'll be 2nd and 2.
Walter Ballard, number 79, gets caught to the inside, and John Volpe with a nice move. You're going to see Ballard 79. There he is right there. He's caught to the inside. That allows Volpe to bounce it to the outside, and the receivers even help out downfield. 85 Matt Clark gets a block right here on Kenton Leonard. There it is. That allows Volpe to go for about 4 more. Everybody works hard for John Volpe. They'd love to see him get that 1,000 this afternoon. I'm no doubt that he will.
2nd and short. Flutie has the first down on the quarterback draw.
Boy, if Will Johnson doesn't make that tackle, Doug Flutie has a lot of room to run.
And look who's here at the football game. David Shelton, Enos Jackson, Eddie Taylor, Mark Mathis, and Leroy Blue of the Edmonton Eskimos. This week they're BC Lions fans, but next week they begin a home-and-home series with the Lions. I think they'll put the banners away.
Got the whole secondary there with Leroy, too. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Flutie under the cover for John Volpe. Stopped by Singer.
Flutie's pass completed to John Volpe, tackled by Mark.
Volpe has about 8 yards.
Good choice by Doug Flutie. Obviously, it's the last choice that he wants to make, and probably for Bob Abilovich, too.
Hey, Hollywood, look at those sunglasses.
It is bright across there. Of course, strategically, the BC Lions and the visiting team are always on the far side of the field where the sun will be in their eyes for the entire game, and Volpe really needs the shades today.
2nd and 2. Lions now inside the Stampeder 40. Inside the 35, in fact, at the 34. Deep pitch to Volpe. Slowed by Will Johnson. And then pinned by Sreko Zizakovic.
Well, watch to the left of your screen. Really, nobody blocks Will Johnson, 81, and that is an enormous mistake. Because John Volpe, there's no way he can get outside and pick up that first down. They are now in a gambling situation, but when you turn alignment of Johnson's ability loose, in fact, he leads the league in plays that he has made in the backfield for lost yardage, and that was a pretty easy one for him to make.
10:23 till halftime. This is 3rd and 1. The Lions go gambling at the Stampeder 33. Doug Flutie himself, and he should have the first down.
Gain of 2 yards on the play.
No penalty markers anywhere.
First down.
Lions lead the way 6-0 on 2 Lou Pasaglia field goals, both from 32 yards away. Lions with a 1st and 10. Calgary 31.
28. 28.
Volpe. Skinner, rather, number 20. The Stampeder defense read it well. Carl Anthony Number 19 makes the stop on Skinner.
Well, as they come down the line of scrimmage, Will Johnson plays Doug Flutie, forces him to pitch to the outside, and Carl Anthony, with some tremendous reaction from that corner spot, comes up and makes a good hit. In fact, they lose a few inches on that play, but you know, he lucked out. He was in zone coverage covering that short flat. That allowed him to come up and make that play. If he's in man-to-man coverage, you won't see him anywhere near it.
Flutie on 2nd and 10 from the shotgun this time with 8:57 till halftime. Early movement from the Stampeders, and it's whistled down as Flutie floats it up. Trevathan was the intended receiver, but the play had been whistled dead.
Changed the cadence a little bit there to that hut, hut, hut stuff, and that drew Calgary offside.
Used to be a quarterback?
No, but that's what he did.
Hut, hut, hut.
Offside,
Yep.
Calgary number 93. Second down repeat.
So you got Ken Warnock to jump with that. Hut, 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 hut. Looks like a machine gun down there.
.8:44 till a half. It'll be 2nd and 5. Flutie time to throw. There's a man wide open, and Matt Clark has the touchdown. A 26-yard touchdown for Matt Clark, and that's number 9 on the season.
Now, is he the outstanding Canadian in the league so far?
I think so.
Yeah, no question. Matt Clark, 9th touchdown of his rookie season. He has passed Mervyn Fernandez in his rookie totals for 1 year, and he works underneath the coverage. Daryl Hall, number 7, cannot stay with the speedy Matt Clark, and he has the BC Lions' first touchdown of the afternoon.
Now, if you make Matt Clark the outstanding Canadian in the Canadian Football League, you get some votes for John Volpe of the BC Lions as the outstanding rookie, wouldn't you?
There'll be some tough voting going on at BC this year.
The top defensive player, O.J. Brigance, could get a few votes. 13-0, the Lions leading the Calgary Stampeders.
In stores now.
Okay, here's Daryl Hall in coverage there. Trust me, Matt Clark's back here somewhere, and as he comes up and all the way across the field to catch the ball, Daryl Hall just cannot stay with the speed of Matt Clark. Let it run right here. You see, once he takes that inside move and tries to jam, he's dead in the water. Clark with too much speed, and 26 yards later, he is into the end zone with the first major for BC and his 9th touchdown of the year. Watch right here. Daryl Hall notorious for bumping and trying to be physical, but once that separation is created after the bump, Matt Clark just runs away from him.
Well described, and Matt Clark beats out Greg Peterson as well as he scores his 9th touchdown of the season.
That's the tough thing about this wide field. I mean, sure, you can be physical, but if the guy gets away from you and starts going all the way across the field and you don't have the speed to stay with him, you're in huge trouble, as Daryl Hall was right there.
From the University of Montana, Matt Clark. What a great season he's had. His first in Canadian football.
Well, when you think of how good Mervyn Fernandez was, Matt Clark has surpassed his totals in his rookie year. That is quite impressive.
And he's surpassed those totals in 13 games. Here's Keevan Jenkins. Jenkins has a good burst of speed. Forced out by number 34, Ryan Hansen. Penalty marker down after a 32-yard return.
Knocked out of bounds by Hansen.
Well, the BC Lions with some ball control. 8 plays, 68 yards, chewing up just over 5 minutes on the clock. And by the way, the convert by Lou Pasaglia ties him with Dave Cutler for the all-time lead in the CFL. 627 point afters for number 5.
Hasn't missed one since 1983.
That's a long time ago.
1st and 10, Stampeders. Beginning at the Calgary 50. Pressure on Gilbert Renfro. He throws. Keevan Jenkins makes the catch, and Renfro's pass was decked after he got the ball away. 12 yards for Gilbert Renfro.
Well, he does a fabulous job just to get this ball away to Keevan Jenkins as he's trying to step up into the pocket. Stu Hill is there, and he's trying to drag him down. And as he's going down, Gil Renfro spots Keevan Jenkins, and what could have been a disastrous play turns out into something positive. That's what you hope for every once in a while from your offense.
Stampeders trailing 13-0. 1st and 10, BC 52. Draw for Keevan Jenkins. What a great the stop, number 24, after Jenkins' 21-yard run.
Oh, what a great call. You know, when you're starting to get a lot of pressure on your quarterback, one way to try and neutralize that is to run a screen or a draw. And here on the draw, good block on the middle linebacker, Bruce Holmes. With Billy Henry, and that allows Keevan Jenkins to get into the secondary. Nice run.
1st and 10, Stampeders. Sean Beals from Gilbert Renfro. The Stamps are now inside the BC 15. Bruce Holmes back to make the tackle. The gain is 16.
See, that draw play neutralized the pass rush just a little bit. The front four wasn't coming quite as hard on that play, and Gilbert Renfro had all kinds of time to find Sean Beals.
On 1st down, Pitts. Touchdown, Alan Pitts. Stampeders right back into this thing as Alan Pitts makes his 12th touchdown catch of the season.
So the Calgary Stampeders answer the scoring drive of the BC Lions in a hurry. Gilbert Renfro marches the team down. A great kickoff return set them up, and then a few plays later, Gilbert Renfro finds the #1 guy in the Calgary offense, Alan Pitts. 12th touchdown of the season.
Mark McLaughlin has the point after. And the Calgary Stampeders have their first touchdown of the afternoon. The Lions still lead it 13-7.
Play for a touchdown. Watch this one. Here's Marshall Toner, Norman Jefferson, and we've got Ken Petway right here. Toner takes it right up the field and goes to the shoulder of Petway. That allows Pitts just to work to the outside. Let it run. You're going to see just enough of a pick on Petway that he can't get out and get at Alan Pitts. That's a touchdown. It's technically a pick. Technically, he didn't touch Petway, so they can't call it. That's good execution on offense.
Alan Pitts, over 1,300 yards receiving. 12 touchdowns on the season. And he is the #1 receiver in Canadian football. Return for the BC Lions. Nigel Codrington met at the 20. Good hit by Alondra Johnson. 16-yard return. This Codrington has blazing speed. He didn't get a chance to show it here.
No, as he stuck his nose right up there. See how he just slows down enough, and that allowed Alondra Johnson to just come smoking through and say, how do you do to the CFL, young fella?
Nigel Codrington. It's a great name.
It's a good name. He's got 4.26 speed, and they timed him after practice on a grass field last week, so you know he's got some burners.
He's in the lineup with Ray Alexander on the sidelines with an injury.
They're going to be called for a legal substitution here. So forget about this run. Let's come back.
John Volpe carried, and they'll bring it back.
See what happened. Codrington got hit so hard he went off the field and then realized, oh, I'm supposed to be out there for this series. Came running back out, but it was too late. Flutie was trying to tell him not to come in, but he came in anyway.
Illegal substitution, BC number 81. First down repeated.
Didn't take long for Calgary to answer back. Did it 4 plays and 2 minutes for Alan Pitts to haul in the touchdown from 11 yards out and bring the Stamps within 6.
No, John, these are the kind of things that change the momentum of games right around. Wally Bwanner knows this. His team has just scored on offense. Now kind of a foolish penalty on defense has put BC in a hole.
1st and 10 Lions, 1st and 20 Lions, back at the 10. Flutie to Flutie. Darren makes the catch from Doug. Carl Anthony makes the tackle, and the gain is 8.
Carl Anthony on the tackle for the Stampeders. 2nd down, BC.
We're watching this matchup this afternoon. Flutie against Anthony.
And although Darren Flutie catches the ball on this play, I'm sure that this is the kind of catch that the Calgary secondary would love to have them complete all day, only for 8 yards, and it sets up 2nd and 12, and a good situation for the Calgary defense.
Flutie gets some pressure, fires in a hurry, is picked off. Mark Singer, number 44, has the 2nd interception of the afternoon. Greg Peterson on the blitz.
Well, you picked that one out, and this afternoon when Calgary has blitzed, they have been effective.
Holding, BC number 20. Penalty is declined.
So the holding penalty on Chris Skinner will be declined. The Calgary Stampeders have their second turnover, and the momentum has definitely switched around in a hurry.
BC leading 13-7. Number 44 has come up with a big interception for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, they've used pressure effectively this afternoon with the blitz. 24, Greg Peterson gets in and puts the pressure on Flutie, and he just simply does not see Mark Singer coming across. He gets the interception. You'll recall earlier on the Darrell Hall blitz, he forced Flutie to throw an incomplete pass as he hit his arm. So Wally Buono's defensive philosophy good today. Pressure at certain critical times, and Pavel Bulovich realizes that the momentum has totally shifted around in this game, and he has to try and find a way for his team to get it back.
First and 10, Stampeders. On the turnover, Calgary at the BC 12. Gilbert Renfro on target, touchdown. Oh, hang on, yes, it is a touchdown. Sean Beals. 12-yard touchdown score. And the gallop is on at McMahon in Calgary.
So it doesn't take long. Only one play for the Stampeders to convert that turnover. Gilbert Renfro to Sean Beals. That was quick.
Beals lost the ball, but after he crossed the goal line. McLaughlin has the point after, and the Stampeders, trailing moments ago, are up by 1. 14-13.
Sean Beals really did a number on Maurice Smith, the defensive back, and this is what you ask for from your receivers, to try and put real pressure on. Here is Sean Beals right up here, and Maurice Smith. Now watch, Beals will take a hard move out there. That gets Smith running with his hips that way. Beals then comes underneath him. Let's roll it. And when you're in man-to-man coverage, it's just a matter of hard work. See the hips turn on Smith? Beals is home free. A good strike by Gilbert Renfro, and old Mo has certainly switched around here with that touchdown reception by Sean Beals.
For Beals, his 5th touchdown catch this season. The Calgary Stampeders a 1-point lead. They have battled back into a 14-13 advantage after trailing 13-0. Nigel Codrington begins at his 1. Markers are down. So is Codrington. Darrell Hall made the stop after a 26-yard return.
A 26-yard return, and there are flags.
Interesting note about the Calgary Stampeder defensive linemen. They're rotating through series. Last series, Strecko Zizakovic sat out. He's back in there now. He says they want to stay fresh so they can chase that little water bug. Doug Flutie.
Running around after old number 22.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good description. Flutie hasn't done a great deal of running so far in this first half, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the Calgary Stampeder front 4 has had some success in containing him. I think that's a good idea. You have to have 5 defensive linemen and rotate them against a running quarterback like Doug Flutie. Those are his numbers. Not too bad. Not too great either.
Here's Flutie now, 1st and 10. Again, the Lions start deep in their zone from the 8-yard line. Flutie rolls to his right, finds Trevathan. Trevathan finds the 20-yard line on a 1st down. Stopped by Alondra Johnson and Darrell Hall. The gain is 12.
The BC Lions have a good enough running game that teams really have to respect that aspect. So the play action, it works very well for them. It freezes the linebacking crew just enough that Trevathan can go down about 8 yards, turn around. There you see Curtis Johnson, the linebacker in that area, was caught up on the line of scrimmage. But that's the respect they have to have for the running game of BC.
6 defensive backs in for the Stampeders. As Flutie fires to the far side, Darren Flutie dropped the ball, and the Calgary Stampeders have another turnover. Ballard coming up with the ball. Leonard forcing the turnover. That's Kenton Leonard, number 30.
Well, it's no surprise surprised that the Stampeders are #1 in the league in the takeaway giveaway category. They've added to that this afternoon. The hit by number 30, Kenton Leonard, coming right there. There's the helmet that goes in. The ball pops loose. Walter Ballard has it. And
well, he at least, no, he did come up with that. He might have just touched it last.
No, he got it. Back-to-back turnovers, and once again, the Stampeders in super scoring position here. There's the turnover situation.
Last turnover cost the BC Lions a touchdown. 1st and 10, Calgary. Here's Alan Pitts, and it's over his head with Jefferson covering. And Renfro ended up on his backside.
Yeah, and I think you can, BC Lion defense can thank number 57, O.J. Brigance, for that. He came in on the blitz and put just enough pressure on Renfro that he had to throw that ball really before Pitts came open.
Stampeders have been forced to make a change in their receiving core. Dave Sapunjas is in as a slot back, and that moves Alan Pitts to an outside receiving spot with Mark Guy injured on the sideline. Sean Beals couldn't bring that one down. Maurice Smith, number 24, was covering on Beals.
Well, Maurice Smith was beaten on the last series by Sean Beals on the same play, but he redeems himself right here, and you're going to see an outstanding effort by Smith as he comes up and over the top of Beals right here with the right hand to knock it down. That is great defense. So you win some and you lose some when you're a defensive back. That time he won.
Beals won the last one and got a touchdown to give the Stampeders this 14-13 lead.
And hardware stores.
BC Lions are 0-3 against the Calgary Stampeders this year. 2 of those losses coming in overtime. So we asked Bob Obilovich, what's he going to have to do to finally beat this team?
I think there's a couple things. Number one is we can't turn over the ball. I think if you look at the 3 games we lost, they can be directly attributed to the fact that we turned it over and they didn't. Certainly not as much as we did. And the one game in Vancouver, the first game of the year, was attributed to that. So if we hold on to the football, pressure the quarterback better than we have been, and more like last week, I'm certain we'll win the football game.
Bob knew exactly what he wanted to do this afternoon, and these games have all been close. Wally Buono admitting that the Calgary Stampeders could have lost 1, 2, or 3 of the games they played against the BC Lions. Obi wanted to cut down on turnovers. He knew what he had to do, but he hasn't been able to do it. Lions have turned it over 3 times.
And 3 times in bad spots. I mean, deep in your own territory. Those are the killers.
McLaughlin from 32 yards out. He is wide this time.
Field goal is wide.
So it's a 2-point ball game. Stampeders leading 15-13. McLaughlin has been bothered by a hamstring problem over the past week. That might have contributed to a miss at 32 yards.
That is a break for the BC Lions to only give up 1 point after that fumble that Walter Ballard recovered.
Ball. It's away. It's away, man. It's away.
That's the way, D.
That's the way to get it.
Really is a break for the Lions, who get first down now with 2:50 to go till halftime. 1st and 10, BC at the 35. They trail by 2. Flutie with lots of time. And brother Darren Flutie has the reception out near midfield at about the 52.
Boy, he has been sharp running those hook patterns this afternoon. Very disciplined as he works back to the quarterback. And I think a good move for Doug Flutie right here. Go to that hurry-up kind of offense and try and get the Calgary Stampeders to not be so adjusted to the formations that they're coming out with.
17-yard gain. It is 1st and 10 for Flutie. He finds Mike Trevathan this time. Trevathan falls, gets up, and grabs a couple before he's pinned by Kenton Leonard and Shreko Zizakovic. All kinds of time for Flutie to get the ball away.
Well, that's the frustrating thing for a front four when you're up against Flutie. Just as though he's going to release the ball, Wilt Johnson, it appears like he's got his foot, but Flutie able to drag it away and find Trevathan. And when you can buy that little bit of extra time, it's so much easier for that receiving core to finally get open.
They'll measure the gain by Mike Trevathan. Zizakovic is the injured Stampeder, and that's how short the Lions are of a first down. Just inches necessary now. Zizakovic in his second season on the Stampeder roster, but he wasn't all that active last year. This year he has come into his own and recently won himself a starting assignment.
The Northwest Stand, where groups can gather for fun, food, balloon dimension flights, and great group stations.
The numbers for Doug Flutie are outstanding so far this season. He's moving in on the CFL record for passing yardage set by Warren Moon back in 1983.
I'd be shocked if he didn't get it. There he stands right now, third all-time in most yards for one season, and his brother is really helping him along the way right here. Some nice possession-type catches he's made this afternoon.
Brother to brother. Flutie will have the first down.
And another BC Lion first down.
2:12 to go to the half.
No question, the most exciting player in the Canadian Football League this year. I mean, you can talk about your Rockets and all that kind of stuff, but Doug Flutie, for my money, has been #1.
He's also likely the most valuable player, too, for what he's done to the BC Lions. On 1st and 10, Flutie will carry himself. Markers are down, though, as Flutie slides near the 35.
Flutie, the ball carrier, gain of close to 10 yards on the play. There was a flag.
Minute 56 till halftime with the Stampeders in the lead, 15-13.
Holding, BC number 55. First down repeated.
Center Ian Sinclair fingered on the holding call that time, so the Lions move back across midfield. And we can prove it was holding.
Yeah, there's Kent Warnock and then Harold Hasselbeck coming in, and Ian Sinclair can't really quite see where he got called for it, but nevertheless he did. The BC Lions have moved back.
1st and 20 at the 54. Flutie for Chris Skinner. And a good play by Kenton Leonard. The gain is nil.
He has made some good hits this afternoon. He caused one fumble that the Stampeders were able to recover, and that time on the screen that the BC Lions usually run so efficiently. He came in, cut underneath the blocks, and made another good hit.
Number 44, Mark Singer, with big shoes to fill here with Matt Finlay gone for the season. Singer becomes a starting linebacker. 2nd and 20. Doug Flutie to Darren Flutie. Well short of the first down.
Doug Flutie's pass complete to Darren Flutie, gain of 11 yards.
Mark Singer in on the tackle, number 44 for Calgary. The gain is 11, but the Lions needed 20.
Darren Flutie does a nice job after the fact. I mean, he's running the pattern right here. Now he sees his brother in trouble and starts working back towards the line of scrimmage. That's what you're supposed to do as a wide receiver. He makes the catch and grabs an extra few yards, although he didn't get quite enough to get it into Lou Pasaglia field goal range, so he will try and kick it out of bounds and pin Calgary deep.
Pasaglia in a punting situation from his own 50. Carl Bland at the 5. And the return is about 6 yards after a 40-yard punt.
BC opened the scoring with the only point of the first quarter. Lou Pasaglia from 32 yards out made it 3-0. Then on the first play of the second quarter, Pasaglia again from 32 made it 6-0. The first touchdown of the game came from Doug Flutie, hit Matt Clark from 26 yards out. 13-0 BC, but on the next possession, Calgary came back. Alan Pitts with a reception from Gil Renfro from 11 yards out. And then after an interception, Renfro to Sean Beals for 12-yard score. 14-13 Calgary. Mark McLaughlin has added a single, and it's 15-13 Calgary late in the second quarter.
Exactly a minute 15 to play in the second quarter. Stampeders are 1st and 10, beginning at the 10-yard line. Renfro handing out to Keevan Jenkins. Second nice run of the day for Jenkins, who was stopped by Paul Whitmore, number 35.
And Pat Hines, the center, who's starting today after a few weeks off, makes an excellent block on 79. Derek McCready just to the left of your screen, and that allows a huge hole for Keevan Jenkins, and that really was the critical play on first down. They had to get some good yardage, and now with just a little over a minute remaining, they have a great chance to kill this clock in the first half.
1st and 10. Stampeders now at the 22. This is Dave Sapungis.
Ball carrier, gain of 1 yard.
He was met by Reggie Johnson, number 93.
Well, that's what the BC Lion defense wanted. Reggie Johnson made the play, and what they would like to do now is, of course, shut Calgary down on second down, be able to call a timeout, and hopefully get the ball back in good enough field position, and they'll have a few plays to try and get into field goal range themselves.
Number 63, Pat Henry, shaken up on the last play. Bill Henry, I should say.
Chin strap. Chin strap.
It's Pat Hines and Bill Henry, right?
You got it.
Into the final 39 seconds of the opening half at McMahon Stadium. 2nd and 9. Renfro for Alan Pitts, and it'll be a Calgary first down. Pitts is forced out by Ken Petway.
Alan Pitts gain of 15 yards on the play.
15 yards the gain, 29 seconds remaining.
Pretty good push off here by Alan Pitts. He works right into the body of Petway. Watch the right arm. I mean, that is an excellent push. He got away with it, makes the catch, and that will certainly allow the Calgary Stampeders to at least kill the clock if they choose so. 20 seconds remaining. Maybe they'll try to work it downfield.
McCready makes the stop on Keevan Jenkins. 16 seconds till halftime. The gain, a couple. And the Stampeders will be happy to run out the clock and head to the dressing room with a 2-point advantage after falling behind the BC Lions 13-0.
Yeah, they've done a good job to come back, and it's really been the turnovers of the Lions that has allowed them to do so. Keevan Jenkins, he's running as well as I've ever seen him run this afternoon.
Should be the last play of the opening half. Gilbert Renfro puts it up for Alan Pitts. Nice catch. Pitts breaks away from one tackle. Can he make it to the end zone? Not quite. He comes up short, and time has expired. But hang on, there's a penalty marker. Back near the 40-yard line, it'll be a call going against the Calgary Stampeders, and that will nullify a 54-yard reception.
Holding, Calgary number 62. Penalty is declined. Half is over.
So the Stampeders head to the dressing room with a 15-13 lead on the BC Lions. Quite a comeback for the first place Stampeders in this battle for first place at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Stay with us for our halftime entertainment.
Back at halftime with the Stampeders lead the Lions 15-13 on the CFL Game of the Week. Well, ownership has been very much in the news here in Calgary. Along with Murray Pezim, the well-known owner of the BC Lions, is the man who will soon run the Calgary Stampeders, Larry Rickman. That will be confirmed at the shareholders meeting later in October. Larry, 23,000 or so today for the game against the BC Lions. Marketing has been the talk so far with you. What are you planning to do here?
Well, I think there's going to be a short-term marketing plan starting in late October, early November. We've got to educate the fans as to how good CFL football has become again.
What other plans do you have when you can take over the team? How much can you do right away?
All we can really do is just sort of step in and look at the books and look how it's being run. Really, nothing can be done marketing-wise until after October 23rd.
All right, let's bring in Murray Pezim now. Murray, you've long been in favor of private ownership for every CFL team. Are you going to have some tips for Mr. Rickman here?
Absolutely. I've told him how I felt. He certainly agrees with me completely. I've been out here for a week training him, making sure he says the right thing. Larry's going to be a fine addition to the owners of the CFL. He really is.
Let's talk with both of you about some issues in the league right now. Expansion, Murray, you've been a proponent of it all season long. The concern in some Canadian cities is about the import-non-import ratio. What would you like to see happen there?
Well, that'll have to be resolved, but it will be resolved one way or another. But we know one thing, we have to expand. We can't stay the way we are. We can't have a repeat of the Ottawa situation. None of the clubs can take it. So we have a great game. It's much better than the NFL. All we have to do is show it to the Americans, Europeans, and we'll be a roaring success next year. I know it. All the girls are phoning me and telling me about it.
Well, we could talk about that in a minute. Larry, what do you think of expansion?
I am for it 100%. Really, what's happening is more and more people worldwide are noticing the CFL game, and the more people notice, the more calls we get. So you're definitely going to be seeing expansion, probably as early as 1992. But for 1993, we're expecting some major things.
What about the import-non-import ratio from your perspective?
That's a major debate right now, and it's really to comment on.
All right, now Murray Pessim, you made a little bet here with the fans of the Calgary Stampeders earlier this season. You want to talk about that for a minute?
I wanted, first of all, I won the bet and I didn't want to win it, okay? And there's a lot of big shots out here that didn't kick in. I'm very surprised them. I'm going to give them one last challenge because I believe so deeply in the Children's Hospital here. I am going to make my own personal donation.
Now, first of all, tell us what the bet was quickly.
The bet was that I would give the Children's Hospital $25,000 if 30,000 people showed up here. Calgary, you let me down. I don't like it. I'm angry.
All right, let's bring in Dwight Nelson from the Calgary Children's Hospital Foundation. Murray, you've got a presentation for us.
Yes, I sure. Dwight, I want to show you that the people in BC have feeling. Okay, I hope there's 4 or 5 other Calgarians will at least match what I'm going to do for you. Here's a check from me to the Children's Hospital.
Thanks very much, Murray. On behalf of Alberta Children's Hospital and all the special kids that we look after, this is really great, and it's just typical of the things you've done, not only for the game, but a lot of special people. So thank you very much.
You want to say anything, Larry?
Well, I think that very, very quickly that I've got to go a step further. Murray's sort of embarrassed the city of Calgary, and I don't blame the city because it takes time to let people know about the game. I'll give $1 for every fan in the stadium today.
Hey, there you go. We'll be back with more on the CFL Game of the Week on TSN in just a moment. Another nail-biter brewing between the Stampeders and Lions. 2-point Calgary lead at halftime. Lots of big plays and lots of big turnovers. The story of that first half. For some highlights, here are John and Lee.
All right, Gord, one of the highlights comes at halftime. You come to a football game and a telethon breaks out. Rickman throws in 18. He's persuaded a little bit by the Pez.
I think it's wonderful. Murray challenged him. He met the challenge, and the Children's Hospital benefits from it. That's lovely.
All right, let's get to the highlights, and it started off all BC as the Lions moved into a 6-0 advantage. And here's the game's first touchdown.
Yeah, Darryl Hall tries to bump Matt Clark as he comes off the line of scrimmage. He gets the bump, but Clark creates the separation. Flutie finds him, and Matt Clark, who's having a tremendous rookie season with his 9th touchdown of the year. BC 13, Calgary zip.
Alan Pitts chips in with a touchdown for the Stampeders, and then Sean Beals follows with his catch.
Yeah, they capitalize on one of the 3 turnovers committed by the Lions. Beals able to get in and underneath Maurice Smith. He has the 2nd touchdown of the afternoon for Calgary and the first time that they had held the lead.
And who's winning our matchup this afternoon, Flutie or Anthony?
Well, I think it's really a toss-up at this point. Darren Flutie's had some catches on Carl Anthony, but he certainly hasn't been able to hurt him. Flutie with 5 catches so far in the first half, but nothing deep, nothing dangerous. I call it a toss-up.
All right, and it's pretty close to a toss-up here at halftime, with the Calgary Stampeders coming back to take the advantage after falling behind 13-0. Stampeders come back and now lead it 15-13 as we get set for the second half at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Gord?
The players are returning to the field. Coming up next, the second half as the Calgary Stampeders lead BC 15-13 on the CFL Game of the Week. Statistics brought to you by General Motors. Things are fairly close in net yards, rushing yards, and in passing. The edge goes to Calgary in all 3 departments. The 3 BC turnovers, a big part of the game. Bob Abilovich told us before the game his team would have to hang on to the ball, and thus far it has not been able to.
No. Ready for the second half with the Calgary Stampeders leading the BC Lions by 2. Stamp set to kick off in the third quarter. Wally Buono is 14-0-1 since taking over as the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders with the lead at halftime. Codrington on the return for the Lions, lost the ball. And the Stampeders have recovered. Who came up with it?
Looks like Alondra Johnson, number 51, will finally come up with the loose football, but Nigel Codrington a little tentative as he sticks his nose up in there. The ball is knocked loose. Couldn't really tell who forced the fumble, but I do believe It was Alondra Johnson that comes up with yet another turnover committed by the BC Lions.
That's the fourth, Leaf.
And not a nice way to begin the second half of play for BC. They're trying to play catch-up. They only trail by a couple, but that's certainly what you saw right there has been the story of this football game so far.
And that's happened to the Lions in their previous meetings with the Calgary Stampeders, as Bob Obilovich talked about one of the things he had to do with his team to beat the Stampeders was cut down on the turnovers. It hasn't worked out well for the Lions so far. Stampeders with a 1st and 10 at the BC 30. This is Keevan Jenkins, and he's been running hard all afternoon. Jenkins to the 21, stopped by Bruce Holmes. Numbers on the quarterback so far today would favor the Calgary Stampeders, I think. 172 for Gilbert Renfro and 2 touchdowns. Doug Flutie has had a couple of interceptions and only 143 yards passing.
And I think the fact that he's only had 143 is simply that the Calgary Stampeders secondary plays such a disciplined zone. They force you to throw underneath it, so oftentimes you don't get the big numbers working against that kind of a defense.
The gain is 9. This is 2nd and 1. Markers are down as Keevan Jenkins carries. And it'll likely be offside against BC. Holmes was a little early.
He jumped over his own lineman to try and get in there, and they caught him in the neutral zone, so there's no question they will take the penalty.
Offside, BC number 51, 1st down.
The final score in Ottawa, Ottawa Rough Riders 42, Saskatchewan Rough Riders 25.
Wally Buono trying to retain top spot in the Western Division of the Canadian Football League. He's had his Calgary Stampeders there from the outset. First down, Renfro. Dave Sapungis, the intended receiver, and he couldn't get to it with coverage by Ken Petway. The coverage was not a factor. Renfro was slightly off target.
Ken Petway on the coverage for the BC Lions. 2nd down, Stampeders.
Stampeders leading by 2 at 15-13. Calgary with a record of 9-4, even with the Eskimos as it stands right now, but this is Calgary's game in hand, the chance to be first in the CFL all by themselves. Jenkins on 2nd and a bunch, stopped by Derek McCready.
A gain of 2 yards on the play.
The gain will be 2.
Derek McCready, for the most part this afternoon, has done a nice job against that draw play that Calgary has used, and Gilbert Renfro trying to trick the BC Lion defense on 2nd and 10 with the draw. He didn't. And now Mark McLaughlin has to come in. That was a glorious opportunity to take advantage of that turnover with a touchdown, but the best that Calgary can hope for now is a 3-pointer from Mark McLaughlin.
Yeah, the last turnover only netted the Stampeders 1 point. McLaughlin was wide on his last try. This from closer in at 21 yards out. And he's wide again. We did mention that McLaughlin has been bothered by a hamstring, and I would think it has to affect him there.
The score of Calgary Stampeders 16, the British Columbia Lions.
Stay tuned after the game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Slim Fast. Kenton Leonard has just come up with another solid defensive play, and we'll show it to you right here.
5 yards on the play.
John Volpe, number 23, nailed by Kenton Leonard on 1st and 10, and it results in a 5-yard loss.
BC Lions felt like they could get outside against Calgary, but Kenton Leonard proved them totally wrong as he's able to get into the backfield quickly. And, you know, it all goes back to the kind of defensive philosophy that Calgary has. They play a tremendous amount of zone coverage. We've talked about that, but when you play zone, that allows the defensive backs to have full vision into the backfield. And for the inside safeties like a Kenton Leonard, if it's a running play, they can get up there in a hurry because they have no strict man-to-man coverages. I know Wally Buono, he flourished to that in his old Montreal days as his own linebacker, and he's brought that philosophy here to Calgary, and it's worked very well for them. Worked well this afternoon.
How was Wally as a linebacker when you played against him?
He was sneaky. I call him a real sneaky son of a gun. He used to grab and hold me, and he would terrorize Tony Gabriel with those chop blocks up at the line of scrimmage. Wally was sneaky. That's the way I described him. He used to hold a lot, too, boy.
2nd and 15 for Flutie and the Lions. He has time. Nigel Codrington his first catch. He was stopped by Mark Singer.
Mark Singer on the tackle, gain of 5 yards.
And the gain is 5, but the Lions will be forced to kick it away.
Well, that's the beauty of the Calgary defense. They just do not allow teams to beat them over the top. They force you to throw underneath, and it's frustrating for Doug Flutie, but he has no choice here. Everybody else deep is covered in that zone, and he has to go underneath to Nigel Codrington. No chance that he's going to pick up a first down on 2nd and long like that, and so the BC Lions have to kick it away.
Here's Luke Pasaglia. A couple of field goals so far this afternoon. Sapunjas on the return for Calgary. Good move by Sapunjas to cut it back into the middle. He's to the 50. A 10-yard return after a 40-yard Pasaglia punt. And the Calgary Stampeders leading 16-13.
Just talked to Mark Guy, who says that he's got a severely pulled groin muscle. Not only is he unlikely to return today, it's unlikely, he says, that he'll return this season.
That makes the decision a little easier next week with Derek Crawford returning the lineup.
Mark McLaughlin has been bothered by a hamstring. He had to miss practice one day this week. Said he was better yesterday. He's missed 2 short field goals here today, and I have to think that hamstring is bothering him a little bit. He missed from 22 yards out.
Yeah, that is tough, too. Those were both on turnovers, only 2 points they were able to get from 2 BC Lion turnovers, and well, you know, the longer you keep a team in the game, the better chance they have. And the BC Lions, who have not played well since the midpoint of the first quarter, just only trail by 3 with all those turnovers.
1st and 10, Stampeders beginning at the 51. Renfro straight back for Keevan Jenkins. He's having a great afternoon this time on the reception. He makes a first down.
Well, I think more than anything else, what Gilbert Renfro is doing smartly is his play selection. He has run the draw effectively. He's thrown the ball, of course, downfield effectively. And now to combat the pressure, the BC Lion front 4, he throws the screen. Look at Keevan Jenkins. Leo Blanchard out in front. Pat Hines, the center, is out in front. And that is a well-executed screenplay, but he has really done his best to keep the BC Lion defense off balance.
The screen nets 12, 1st and 10, Stampeders at the 47. Now into BC territory. Jenkins again this time. Well read by the BC defense. Derek McCready, number 79, made the stop. The Stampeders are the only team that the BC Lions have not been able to beat so far in 1991. This is the 4th meeting, and the Stamps have won the previous 3. 2 of those victories coming in overtime. Renfro on 2nd and 10. Low for Sean Beals.
Renfro's pass intended for Sean Beals, incomplete.
So Matic comes in, Renfro goes out, and the Stampeders face another punting situation. McCready is the injured BC Lion.
Boy, he has worked hard this afternoon, played the draws well, and every play doing his best to get in and get some pressure on Gilbert Renfro, and he has really been working hard.
7 sacks in the season. He had 2 last week against the Tiger Cats.
He's having a good year, and he's been in and out of the lineup starting this year. They've juggled their import ratio around. Today he gets a chance once again to start.
Matic's punt. Jefferson doesn't have a play.
Well, I think he nailed this one inside the 5. They're going to line it up. No, he didn't get it.
Single points.
The score of the Calgary Stampeders.
See, Brett Matic initially, he thought he had it, but just drifted into the end zone, and BC will be glad to give up the single right there.
17-13, Stampeders leading the way. Here's the other final in Canadian football this afternoon. The Ottawa Rough Riders with a 42-25 win over the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. So that makes it a little more impossible for the Rough Riders to catch the BC Lions for the final playoff spot in the Western Division.
I don't think they're eliminated mathematically. They still have 4 games remaining, a total of 8 points they could get. So the outcome of today's game will affect it. But mathematically, I still don't think Saskatchewan has been eliminated, although it does not look great.
In the other division, the Ottawa Rough Riders get a shot at second spot. They're only 2 points back of the Blue Bombers now. With the Argos leading the way in the East with 20 points, Winnipeg has 14, and now Ottawa has 12.
You got to get it. You got to get it when he comes to the strong side like that, okay? You got to get it. Paul's hurry up. You got to get it.
1st and 10 Lions. Flutie, near side, Trevathan, and he'll have a first down.
Flutie's pass complete to Trevathan to gain 12 yards on the play.
Flutie's been most successful this afternoon when he's been able to use the play-action pass, and he hits Trevathan, but watch his buddy Matt Clark downfield. He's going to peel around and get a good block on Daryl Hall right here. Wham! Hey, who said those receivers don't block?
I never said that. I just asked you about your blocking ability.
Well, we won't talk about that.
12-yard gain. Flutie has a first down, swinging it for Volpe coming out of the backfield, and he stepped out of bounds.
We talk about our matchup today with Darren Flutie and Carl Anthony. Carl Anthony absolutely tackled him downfield. They're going to have to start calling that because that's where Doug Flutie wanted to throw the football. He ended up dumping it off to John Volpe, but with the holding in the secondary is unbelievable right now.
Stampeders leading by 4 at 17-13 with 9:08 to play, third quarter. This is 2nd and 11 for the Lions. Flutie for Matt Clark. Clark tries to outrun Daryl Hall and does for a first down. 13 yards. He is a great young receiver, this rookie from Montana.
Yeah, he's fearless, too, as he comes across the middle. A lot of young guys don't like to come into that area, but for Matt Clark, it seems to be no problem at all. You'll come right into the middle of your screen underneath Alondra Johnson. He outruns him and picks up the first down.
Lions from the Calgary 50. Good fake by Flutie to Volpe. And he finds Darren Flutie with a great catch. Doug to Darren one more time.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the play-action pass. It freezes the linebackers, and that means that the secondary does not get any underneath coverage help. And when Darren Flutie comes into the middle, it's a pretty easy throw from his brother Doug, and he goes up high to make a spectacular 17-yard reception.
6 for 71 in the afternoon. Darren Flutie. 1st and 10 Lions. Calgary 33. To get out of there. This is where he's so terrific. Fired a little high for Chris Skinner, but he bought a lot of time to get the pass away.
Incomplete.
Well, if you're a defensive back, you assume that you give the quarterback 4 seconds to release the football. Anything after that, the secondary is in huge trouble. And although this time Flutie held the ball for much more than 4 seconds, Chris Skinner could not come up with the catch. But that's the tough thing about going against a Flutie. Very few times are you able to force him to throw the ball before that 4-second mark. And when that happens, the secondary can be in a lot of trouble.
2nd and 10 BC at the Calgary 33. Flutie for Nigel Codrington. Second catch for Codrington today.
15 yards on the play.
Well, he's got some tremendous speed. He was at the camp of the Chicago Bears. They released him, but if raw speed counts for anything, he's got a lot of it. He's able to get open, and that's the beauty of a Flutie. He rolls out and then throws all the way across it, back across the field, and that's tough. How do you defend that?
I like Jeline, the beauty of the Flutie.
That's right.
1st and 10 Lions. Flutie intended that for Matt Clark and was off target.
Flutie's pass intended for
6:51 remaining third quarter.
Second down.
Calgary leading 17-13.
And this is a similar situation to where Calgary had success earlier, coming with either the middle safety blitz or the halfback blitz. 2nd and long, deep in their own territory. We'll see if they take a chance right here and gamble. Yeah, Doug Flutie's checking off. He sees the blitz coming. Greg Peterson's right up on the line of scrimmage.
Touchdown! Flutie to Flutie with a flag in the end zone. Third touchdown catch of the year for Darren Flutie. And the 28th touchdown toss for Brother
Forward
Doug.
pass interference, Calgary number 19. Penalties declined. Touchdown.
Lions are back in the lead. 19-17 right now.
Carl Anthony, he can't believe it. It's like he got his pocket picked right here. Doug Flutie throws up a real lame duck. His brother reacts to it. Anthony can't find it. And Darren Flutie comes up with the touchdown, but that was a key drive for the BC Lions to get themselves back into this game.
An 18-yard touchdown, Flutie to Flutie. Now Doug holds for Lou Pasaglia's convert, and Pasaglia has surpassed David Cutler for the all-time number of converts kicked in Canadian football. The BC Lions have surpassed the Calgary Stampeders by 3. It's 20-17.
Well, there's Darren Flutie who scored the touchdown, and sometimes the best laid plans really don't mean a thing, because this isn't a tremendous pass pattern. Here's Darren down here. Here's Carl Anthony here. Let it run. We're going to stop it down near the goal line because, I mean, it's not really much of a pass pattern, but the fact is that Carl Anthony just stopped it right there. Okay, Carl Anthony couldn't stop it. Carl Anthony just can't get turned around, and although it's not a great route, it's not a great pass, it results in a touchdown. And what is the old saying? Sometimes better to be lucky than good, and that certainly applies to Darren Flutie's catch right there.
7th catch of the afternoon. He has 89 yards, and the touchdown. Brother Doug is good on 20 of 28 so far. 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
You know, as we trace the passing of Doug Flutie, and will he break the record? Really, all he needs is to average about 200 yards a game throwing in these last 5 games to break the record. So he's over that average that right now. I mean, I'd be shocked if he didn't get the record, because 200 yards in a game for him is nothing.
Possibility he could set it at Commonwealth in Edmonton.
Yeah, I'd say it's a possibility he'd go over the 6,000-yard mark. I'd say that's very realistic.
Short kickoff this time. Curtis Johnson fields it and hangs on. That's about all he could do.
8 plays, cover 75 yards for the BC Lions, and it's Doug to Darren for the touchdown as the Magic Fluties strike for BC.
Oh, that might be the all-time worst. The Magic Fluties.
Sure like the way these two fellas are able to correlate their pass patterns together. And Doug obviously had a sixth sense that his brother could come up with a catch there. Threw it up, hoping. His wish came true.
There was a penalty on the kickoff, and it looks like they may take it back and kick it over again. Lonnie Finch was offside.
Yeah, he tried to get a little head start on that coverage.
So the Stampeders will ask the Lions to do it one more time.
Yeah, obviously the Stampeders do such a good job returning kickoffs and punt returns that they would love to have another shot at this one.
Lions had a 13-0 lead and trailed at halftime by 2. They are back with the advantage right now, 20-17. This is Keevan Jenkins. He's had a great ball game. Good return there to set the Stampeders up. Across the 50-yard line, a 50-yard kickoff, 21-yard return for Jenkins. And Paul Whitmore supplied the tackle. What are your thoughts on Gilbert Renfro's performance so far this afternoon?
I think for the most part he's done a good job when his offensive line has given him the protection. I think having Mark Guy out of the lineup has hurt them. It's they certainly don't have the speed in that receiving core that they did when they started the game, and if they're going to be successful, I'm sure Alan Pitts is going to get involved in a hurry, and Keevan Jenkins either running or out of the backfield. He'd be my choice.
Renfro under pressure. Pitts was the closest receiver. And Stu Hill was supplying the pressure on Gilbert Renfro that time.
Well, John, it brings up an interesting point. Everybody loves to talk about a defensive lineman's sack totals, and that seems to be the benchmark that we measure these players. But here it's the pressure of a Stu Hill. You get a perfect example right in front of you there that the sack really didn't matter. It was the pressure that caused the pass to be incomplete. And although Hill only has 5 sacks on the year, it's that kind of effort that everybody knows that why he is one of the best ones.
Pressure causes turnover.
That sure does.
Renfro, not a usual running quarterback, but he does a pretty good job there. He may have the first down.
I think he did. Billy Henry got in his way. He just pushed him aside and said, Billy, get out of here. I need to run for a first down. And this certainly is not his strength doing this, but much needed first down right here as he takes it on his own and Not overly nifty, but he gets the job done. Watch here, he's going to push Billy Henry ready to say, get out of here, Billy. Get in my way.
Mentioned earlier, Renfro not noted as a runner. Last week he carried twice and picked up 3 yards total. There, he picked up 10 in one rush. Against the Stampeders, a big first down.
Oh, he's flying now.
Way above his average.
Yeah.
5:27 to play, third quarter. For the BC Lions in the lead at 20-17. Stampeders have the football. First and 10 at the BC 48. Van Jenkins, close to 7, maybe 8 yards.
8 of 7 yards on the play. Bruce Holmes on the tackle for the BC Lions.
O.J. Brigance and Derek McCready on the stop on Van Jenkins.
Well, I'm sure that pleases head coach Wally Buono, too. What you love to get is not only good first down production, but if you can do it with the running game, I mean, that's even better. And Andy McVeigh did his best on the lead block for Van Jenkins. But, hey, this is a great situation. 2nd and 3.
From the BC 42, Renfro back in a hurry. Alan Pitts, the intended receiver. And it was tipped by Bruce Holmes.
Jefferson on coverage for the Lions.
Bruce Holmes happened to be in the right spot at the right time. He was sliding over to pick up Andy McVeigh in pass coverage, and all of a sudden the ball came his way. He stuck the big mid up there and knocked it away. And you know, you're 2nd and 3. You're expecting to pick up a first down, but a good defensive play by Holmes keeps him from doing so.
Mark McLaughlin has missed his last 2. This one is from 49 yards out. And this one is good. How do you figure it? Missed from 21, hit from 49.
I don't know. He's hurting, though. You see him coming off the field. His leg definitely is bothering him, but I agree with you. How do you figure that one? Maybe it was on the left side of the hash mark. Easier for a right-footed kicker. Who knows?
But it's all even at 20-20. Gord?
Just talked to Mark McLaughlin before that attempt. His hamstring is killing him, in his words. He can barely walk before stretching, but then he goes out and nails one from the twilight zone. So go figure.
You can't figure it. Aspirin to it, Mark. You'll be all right. Boy, everything looks smooth there, though, didn't it? Nice kick.
Smooth kick. No grimace of pain on his face. Oh, maybe there. Anyway, McLaughlin has the Calgary Stampeders back to him in 2020 with 4:02 to go, third quarter. Flutie and the Lions, 1st and 10 at the 35, and markers are down. Play whistled dead.
Time count violation, BC number 22.
It's 2 of those this afternoon against Flutie.
Well, they didn't have the personnel in there that Doug wanted. He was trying to wave Volpe off the field. Now he comes on, and it really wasn't his fault that they took the time count. Hasn't really been a factor in this game.
Not hugely so. And despite the turnovers, the Lions haven't given up as many points as a result of giving the Stampeders good field position and the football back. Flutie to Flutie, and that'll be a first down for the Lions. It was 1st and 15. Darren Flutie had a pretty good pattern to get the first down.
This is a great pass pattern by Darren Flutie. Watch how hard he works into Junior Thurman. He's going to take him straight upfield, works into him, gets Thurman out of the backfield, and then look how disciplined he is, working back on an angle to the sidelines. Any separation he has created between himself and Junior Thurman is kept. That is an extremely disciplined pass route and very difficult for Junior Thurman to cover.
I lied about the first down, Leaf. This is 2nd and inches. The gain was 14 and a half. Darren Flutie, 8 catches, 103 yards so far.
Give it the play action right here. Okay.
I agree with you, though. That would have been fun. Get out there, you got almost a free play.
I think so, too. Doug's usually like that. He'll take a shot. He'll take a gamble on 2nd and short.
BC Lions lead the Canadian Football League in most yards total offense. 6,475. That's only one of several offensive categories the Lions lead in. On first down, Doug to Darren, in behind the cover, and Darren Flutie is dragged down at the 20-yard line. It's a great combination, and Carl Anthony beaten by Darren Flutie. That's our matchup this afternoon. I think Darren's winning it.
Well, you know, we talked about the sneaky speed of a Darren Flutie. He's not a burner, but look, he just kind of lulls Anthony into sleep, jogging off the line of scrimmage, turns it on, he gets in behind, and a perfect throw from brother Doug. And no question, Darren Flutie now has taken over, and I would say is winning this matchup. 43-yard reception for him.
And that sets the Lions up 1st and 10 at the Calgary 20. All even in the ball game, 20-20. Here's John Volpe. His best run in a while. Stopped by Curtis Johnson.
A gain of 7 yards on the play. 2nd down, BC.
Well, this has changed a little bit since last we compared the quarterbacks. Flutie at 280 yards now compared to Renfro's 184.
Yeah, you know, the 2 interceptions really haven't hurt him either. I think that's pretty significant looking at those numbers.
1 turnover did lead directly to a Calgary touchdown. But the Stampeders settled for single points on the next 2 turnovers. Kent Warnock got an early start, and the play is whistled down once more.
Well, that's a big play, too, because 2nd and 3, now you get the automatic 1st down. Can't make it easy on a tough offense like the BC Lions. Can't give them a lot of free stuff, and Ken Warnock right there, he'll see him jump across. And well, Will Johnson was with him, too, but you cannot give a disciplined and a good offense number 1 in the league as the BC Lions are. Too many breaks, and Ken Warnock gave them a big one right there.
1st and goal to go for the Lions at the Stampeders 7. Score is even at 20. Flutie to the end zone for Trevathan. Kenton Leonard was covering on number 77 that time.
Kenton Leonard on the coverage for the Stampeders.
We've talked about Leonard a few times today. He's had a good afternoon.
Yes, he has. He comes all the way across the field to play Mike Trevathan in man-to-man coverage. The BC Lions going to a triple set to the outside, and you'll eventually see Trevathan come in on the out, and Leonard is right there. Well, I don't know. Trevathan maybe had a shot at that one.
59 seconds to play, 3rd quarter. 2nd and goal to go, BC. Flutie swings it out for Volpe. Looking to the end zone. Volpe gets down to the 2. Almost. Alondra Johnson, Junior Thurman combined to keep Volpe out of the end zone. And it's 3rd and goal to go at the 1.
Chris Skinner, number 20, gets a key block out here on number 38, Curtis Johnson. Watch, Volpe will now bounce it to the outside. Here comes the block right there, and that allowed Volpe the chance to get into the end zone. This is a huge gamble here. 3rd and goal, and the BC Lions are going gambling. I like the call.
I do too, because realistically, if they don't get the touchdown, they put the Calgary Stampeders at the 1-yard line, 109 yards away from the BC end zone. 3rd and goal to go. Lions are at the Calgary 1. Volpe, does he have it? Touchdown! Not by much. Not by much at all. But he broke the plane, and the BC Lions have regained the lead. From the goal line, here's how it looks.
Just enough. You're going to get a great shot at here. A couple of lead blocks coming from Ryan Hansen and Mike Marasco. And Volpe, yes. All you have to do is break the plane. The official in a perfect spot to make that signal.
John Volpe, his 14th touchdown this season.
So the BC Lions go gambling and come up winners as they once again have the lead.
Volpe made the play for the touchdown, but he set himself up at the 1-yard line with a great run after taking a Flutie pass.
Yeah, and his buddy Chris Skinner helped him out with a nice block to let him get a few more yards. Once again, let's go back, and by the smallest of margins, John Volpe is able to get into the end zone. That is his 14th touchdown rushing this year. He's got a total of 16 touchdowns on the season. What a great rookie year he has had. You know, you talk about the intangible players on this BC Lion team. They knew nothing about him when the season started. Of course, now everybody knows how good John Volpe is.
3rd in rushing in Canadian football, number 23, John Volpe.
Well, the Lions put together the 8-play, 75-yard drive. 43 of the yards covered by Darren Flutie. If you're looking for a secret of his success, I shook hands with him before the game. He wears those gloves. We almost had to be surgically removed from each other.
What, has he got sticky fingers, Gord?
I think so.
Lions lead it by a touchdown at 27-20. And the return for the Stampeders, and they'll be in good shape as a result of his run. Forced out by Paul Whitmore, number 35.
28 yards on the play.
28-yard return for Carl Bland.
Stampeders with the ball on their 52-yard line.
But the Calgary Stampeders, as they so often do, work so hard on the special teams and get a key return to get them out. And what makes a big difference when a quarterback can play on a short field, and that's exactly what Gilbert Renfro is doing right here, almost out to midfield on that return.
He is 58 yards away from the BC end zone. Pitts dropped it. Not the usual Alan Pitts afternoon. He's had a couple of problems.
Not only does he drop the football, he took a huge hit from Maurice Smith and O.J. Brigance to kind of add insult to injury, but that's the second one he should have had today that he's coughed up.
Calgary Stampeders coming off a 40-21 loss to the Rough Riders in Saskatchewan last week. The Lions coming back from a 37-27 win over the Tiger Cats. 2nd and 10. Stamps. Renfro intended that for Bland or Beals, but Holmes got a hand on it. Number 51. That's the second he's tipped in the second half. And that will be the final play of the third quarter, with the BC Lions coming back to take the lead. It's 27-20. Ready for the fourth quarter now. The TSN Game of the Week with the BC Lions leading once more by 7, 27-20. The Stampeders, Brent Matic set to kick it away. Matic stands at his 37 and steps across the 41 to get this away. Short kick. Jefferson on the return for the Lions. And he is surrounded and brought down by Clatney.
35-yard punt by Brent Matic to Jefferson.
Third quarter statistics are brought to you by General Motors. BC now has the decided edge in every category except for rushing yards, but turnovers are their problem. 4-1 for the Calgary Stampeders. But BC has really held the ball, which is kind of surprising since they're not really a possession-type team.
Flitty's done a good job in the second half so far. We'll see what he can do here. He has the lead by 7. 1st and 10 Lions. BC 28. Darren Flutie, number 82. He's had a big afternoon. 10th catch. Greg Peterson made the stop.
Well, it's a good fake that holds the linebackers. Here you see they fake the draw to John Volpe, and against a team that likes to play zone, that is perfect. It does not allow the linebackers to get back in coverage, and then there was lots of room for Darren Flutie to work himself inside, and good lane to throw it to.
John Volpe. And he might have 5 yards. Darren Flutie's numbers today, pretty impressive, huh?
10 catches, 157 yards. I would say that's pretty impressive. And how about John Volpe with that run? Does he not go over the 1,000-yard mark?
As a rookie, he makes it by a couple of yards now.
How about that? It's been a long time since there's been a BC running back to do that. Last one was Larry Key way back in 1981. So 10 years later, they get a guy over 1,000.
11th catch for Darren Flutie, and that'll be a first down for the Lions.
Doug Flutie's pass complete to Darren Flutie.
Looking back, John Volpe joins some rather famous running backs in BC Lion history.
First down, BC.
Lou Harris, 1,200 yards in 74. Monroe Ely.
Oh, you know, he was tough. I was looking at this before the game, and I remember Monroe Ely. You talk about a guy that could run hard. Whew.
Johnny Musso. Was he Italian stallion?
Yeah,
I think so.
Names from the past. Umo Musso, he's from Alabama.
Deep drop. Doug Flutie has his brother Darren wide open. It's a trot to the end zone. A 51-yard touchdown toss. The second catch for a touchdown by Darren Flutie today. And how did he get in behind the coverage all alone?
Well, it's the scrambling ability of Doug Flutie, and you'll see as he rolls out to the right side of your screen here, everybody just kind of leaves Darren Flutie alone. They think Doug's going to run. Junior Thurman left him, and Darren Flutie was all alone, and I think he has pretty good leg up on Offensive Player of the Week with his numbers. Couple of touchdowns, 12 receptions.
Yeah, I don't think Carl Anthony can win the matchup this afternoon now. Lou Pasaglia. And the Lions lead it by 2 touchdowns. 34-20. BC leading the Calgary Stampeders. It's a battle for top spots in the CFL West, and the Lions have a leg up.
Hey, you're gonna love it.
Darren Flutie, 12 catches, 216 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
What an afternoon he has had, and boy, it's the play faking of his brother Doug, and we're going to look in the telestrator here. Flutie comes out, he fakes the Volpe here, and then we'll roll out. Now watch Darren, he's going to come downfield on Junior Thurman, but the play fake, let it roll. We're going to stop it at some point because Junior Thurman he's sure it's a running play. Stop it right there. See Thurman, now he's reacting up. Flutie rolls out, let it go. And Darren, well, he just goes downfield, waves his arms a little bit. Flutie throws it. Thank you very much. My second touchdown of the afternoon. But what in the world was Junior Thurman thinking about?
Port OB will be offering lucky prizes.
Pretty good afternoon. Darren Flutie, 2 touchdowns.
Right now,
he now has 4 on the season.
Section R, row 10, and seat 23. Wins a Sport OB rocket bag and prize package.
Doug Flutie put that in the air close to 60 yards. He dropped way back, didn't he?
You know, it's impressed me so much is their play action this afternoon. It really has been a weapon against the Calgary defense that likes to zone. It's frozen those linebackers and really pretty much eliminated them in any kind of coverage today.
It bounces behind Carl Bland. He tries the short side, and there is no room. Ryan Hansen leading the Lion tacklers there. And this ball game has changed focus a couple of times this afternoon.
Well, the BC Lions have totally taken control of this second half and really put into jeopardy Wally Buono's 14-0-1 record when they have been leading at halftime as they see his team drop behind 14 points here in the fourth quarter.
Despite turning the ball over 4 times, the Lions have the lead by 2 touchdowns.
Well, you know you're a good football team when you can do that.
Gilbert Renfro beginning from the 14-yard line. Keevan Jenkins couldn't make the catch. Bruce Holmes was there. And he has been mentioned frequently this afternoon. Number 51, Bruce Holmes.
There's Bruce Holmes right in the middle of your screen. He's in man-to-man coverage on Keevan Jenkins, and that is tough to run a screen against. Nobody able to block him. He makes a super play. Now, he's tipped 2 balls in the second half, now made a big hit on the screen. He's having a whale of a second half on defense.
A loss of 1, 2nd and 11 facing the Stampeders now. Back at the Calgary 13. Gilbert Renfro for Alan Pitts, almost picked out by Norman Jefferson. At least he had a chance to make the catch.
Yeah, he sure did. They sat back in his zone coverage. He had the short flat, and he was able to sneak in under Alan Pitts and almost come up with the interception. Here's Pitts. He wants to work to the outside. A little bit of double coverage from Paul Wetmore here. Watch Jefferson now sneaking underneath and almost come up with the pick.
Brent Matich, a couple of yards into his end zone. Wind is not a factor here this afternoon. Short punt. Mike Trevathan takes it. And look where the Lions are now, inside the Stampeder 45. And here's the scoreboard with the Lions leading by 2 touchdowns.
All right, next up is John Wells' home city of Winnipeg, October 11th. It starts with the CFL report at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then a great football game. The Argos and the Bombers at 8:30 Eastern time.
In the shadow of the Golden Boy on Friday. In Winnipeg, the Golden Boy on top of the legislature. Haven't you been on your historical tour of Manitoba?
No, I've avoided that.
I'll take you out and show you.
Oh, will you?
Yep, I will.
Let's go, Big D!
Stampeders had the lead at halftime. They have fallen behind 34-20 in the fourth quarter.
And they've done it with a renewed offense in the second half and some very solid defense. Doug Flutie's numbers in the second half are pretty impressive here. 363 total passing yards for him. And he has, of course, cracked the 5,000-yard mark for the season, which is very, very impressive.
Flutie swings it out to Volpe. Volpe turns the corner, comes up a little short of the first down. Forced out by Alondra Johnson, number 51. 9 yards for Volpe. Warren Moon holds the record for most passing yards in a season, established in 1983. Doug Flutie has vaulted over Dieter Brock into second spot, 5,058 yards in 14 games, less one quarter.
Right. Fabulous, fabulous. When you consider Flutie had only about 2,600 yards total last year, what a year he's having. Much more comfortable, of course, with the CFL. It's just like being out in his office every game out there.
He's passed for 229 yards in the second half. Here's the question. Was Doug Flutie built for the CFL or the CFL made for Doug Flutie?
I think that's kind of is half empty or half full. You know, the league is perfect for him. His talents to run around, take advantage of the wide field, and the fact that we like to throw the ball so much up here.
Page 42. If the Gillette ad in your program has been signed by Gilbert...
That's an interesting question, though.
10:42 to play in the fourth quarter with the Lions in front, 34-20. Flutie checks it out with Bob Obilovich. They're definitely on the same wavelength.
How'd he come out?
Alondra Johnson is the injured Stampeder. He is a former BC Lion, spent a little time with the Lions.
Yeah, he came over to Calgary as a free agent, probably the most notable signing they made in the offseason. Needed somebody to solidify the middle linebacking spot. He's been able to do that for him. It's funny, he's been out for a few games, and when he was out, he was sorely missed. They lost 2 in a row when he has not played.
BC Lions have the lead by 2 touchdowns. If they hang on, there'll be a 3-way tie for top spot in the West.
Argos lead the East with a 10-4 count, unbeaten at home this year. They've been something at Skydome, haven't they? Winnipeg is next. The Bombers still have a shot at first place, albeit an outside one. And Ottawa has secured the final playoff spot as Hamilton is done for the year, pretty much. Calgary, Edmonton, and BC. We told you at the outset of the game that if BC wins this afternoon, it's a 3-way tie for top spot in the Western Division. And Edmonton and BC have a home-and-home series coming up.
Gordy, I think it's interesting to note that we talked to Bob Obilovich yesterday and said, are you pleasantly surprised? He said, are you kidding? Am I ever? I mean, a chance to be in first place after 14 weeks of this season? Boy, have my young guys ever played well, and that has been the case.
A couple are in the lineup today. Volpe and Clark, they have been outstanding in their rookie seasons. Doug Flutie and Darren Flutie have been outstanding here today. Here's Volpe. Stopped by Darryl Hall. 5 yards for John Volpe. He's over 1,000 yards rushing in his first CFL season.
And that time the Calgary defense did a much better job covering the receivers on second down. The play action just doesn't quite work as well when it's 2nd and 10. You don't really fool anybody. They got back and did the good coverage.
Okay, be ready, Jay. We might put you in there and run that guy.
2nd and long. Actually 2nd and 6 for Flutie. Clark makes the catch, and it'll be a BC first down. Kenton Leonard, number 30, the stop on Matt Clark.
Kenton Leonard on the tackle for the Stampeders. A gain of 9, and another BC Lions first down.
9-yard gain. 9:28 to play, fourth quarter. Stampeders had the lead at the half and have fallen behind.
Kenny Watson's coming into the game. They take a linebacker out. So right now, Wally Buono going with 6 defensive backs against the receiving core of the BC Lions.
4 receivers to the far side of the field. Flutie carries himself. First down, touchdown.
Doug Flutie,
18 yards. Doug Flutie has the touchdown. Interesting formation, Leaf, with all the receivers to the right side of the field.
Yeah, it was. You know what, Doug Flutie and I chatted before the game for about 20 minutes, and he said when they come with their 6 defensive back package, we're going to run against it. So he was ready for it. Watson came in, and they run a quarterback draw, and Flutie is able to go all the way for the touchdown. And Boy, that is really good execution. They had a game plan. That's exactly what they wanted to do. They did it perfectly.
That's the 11th rushing touchdown of the season for Flutie. And Lou Pasaglia will try and make it a 21-point advantage. He does. 41-20. Lions leading the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, let's go back and just see how easy it was for Doug Flutie to get into the end zone. Here are 5 receivers he's got up here and only 1 down here. Now watch what happens. Will Johnson, the defensive end, will come up here. Flutie takes a couple of steps back. Jim Mills, the right tackle, will lead Flutie through the hole, and they make it look pretty easy. There's the fake. Here comes Mills, an easy route, some blocks up front. Oh, what a block by Jim Mills right there. That's why he was the top offensive lineman in the league last year, and Flutie into the end zone for the touchdown. That is tremendous execution.
Former NFL great.
It's nice when you have plans for a game and they come to fruition.
Keevan Jenkins can't make a play on the kickoff. Has to retreat back behind the goal line and will have to give up a single point because he touched the ball. So it's a 22-point advantage at 42-20.
An 80-yard kickoff.
Well, fellas, something very interesting happened on that last touchdown. Linebacker Mark Singer was lined up as usual in his outside position, but they moved him into the middle. Wally Buono said, move over, move over. They ran right through the hole that he was in. He looked over at Buono after the touchdown, shrugged and said, hey, you move me.
That's a good title for a song, You Move Me. 8:59, fourth quarter.
Yeah, there's Singer right in the middle of your screen. That's exactly what Gordy's talking about. He's not used to being in there. Groenwagen comes around the corner. Mills come around the corner. Watch the pop right here. Boom.
That's a little unfair on Singer.
Yeah, 2-on-1.
2-on-1. They both got him, too.
Tough day for head coach Wally Buono. His team that has held first place for the entire season will now probably see it. Have 2 more fellas at the top with him.
Keevan Jenkins couldn't hang on to a short screen pass from Gilbert Renfro. It is 42-20. The Lions have come back to take the lead. They were down by a couple at halftime and have scored 3 touchdowns in the second half. Carl Bland, and that'll be a Calgary first down. Bland making the catch in front of Lonnie Finch.
Well, they need a lot of first downs in a hurry. They have a long way to come back in this ballgame. 22 points. They trail with over half remaining in the fourth quarter.
First down, Stampeders. Calgary 48. Renfro stands in, fires for Alan Pitts. He makes the catch in front of Norman Jefferson, short of the first down. Gain is 7.
So Pitts with this catch, it's not a big one. It's just a quick hitch pattern, but he is now only 3 back from tying the club record by Terry Evanshen, held at 96. He has 93 now so far. It'd be nice to see him break that record today.
Renfro lost the ball. Stampeders get it back, I think. Bill Henry had a shot at it. Had it for a moment. Now we'll have to unpile things down there and find out who actually does have the football.
Yeah, they got it back. George Black, the head referee, is indicating third down, so they do retain possession. Doesn't really matter, though. They're going to have to give up the football. It was a good hit. There's number 37, Donald Miller, who's in the football game at the linebacking spot for the BC Lions. He forces the ball loose, but Billy Henry, in fact, does come up with a recovery.
Loss of 6, punting situation, Stampeders. Matic near his 35. Norman Jefferson. Lost the ball. Stampeders should have it this time. 13-yard return by Jefferson. And Alondra Johnson comes up with a fumble.
Second one he's grabbed today, and that is a break for the Stampeders. They have had nothing good go their way here in the second half, but Norman Jefferson coughs up the football. David Sapungis in there with the hit, and I do believe it's 56 Doug Davies, the reserve center, who strips the ball loose. Johnson with the recovery, and there is still some life left in the Stampeders.
Yeah, with a first down now inside the 30. 7:07 to go. There's lots of time if Renfro can get to the end zone in a hurry. But he needs 3 touchdowns and a single point just to get even. Renfro rolling out. Hang on, it's Taylor at quarterback.
Steve Taylor now at quarterback.
I think this is a good choice by head coach Wally Buono, too. They need a quarterback in there with a little bit more mobility right now to get outside the pocket and either run with it or throw it downfield, as he did right there. But I think actually it is a very good choice to bring him into the game.
To Carl Bland on his first toss, 12 yards the gain for Steve Taylor.
Let's go, yeah, they need that extra dimension right now in their offense of a running quarterback.
First and 10. Stampeders, DC 18. Penalty markers are down as Keevan Jenkins takes it and heads to the end zone. He's in. And the penalty will go against the BC Lions.
I do believe it will. Bruce Holmes jumped the gun, and Keevan Jenkins with a beautiful run to the outside.
18-yard touchdown.
BC number 51. Penalty is declined.
Touchdown stands, an 18-yarder for Keevan Jenkins.
So it only took 2 plays for the Stampeders to take advantage of the fumble punt by Norman Jefferson. A quick pitch, and Keevan Jenkins outruns the defense and gets into the end zone. And hold on to your hat here. There is lots of time left on the clock.
Stampeders need extra points. They'll go for a 2-point convert here. 42-26 right now. Taylor for Sapungis, and Ken Petway broke up the play.
Well, that was the pick they ran for the touchdown to Alan Pitts earlier, and Ken Petway has seen that play so many times today. He finally got it right. He fought through the pick of Alan Pitts and was right on top of David Sapungis. Nevertheless, the Stampeders score, and they are back in this one. A quick pitch gets Keevan Jenkins around the defensive end, Reggie Johnson, before he even has time to react, and it was a few yards later, and he was into the end zone.
Keevan Jenkins, 11 carries, 80 yards. He's had a productive afternoon, also several receptions. Now, what do we do here? Short kickoff?
No way.
No way.
Kick it deep. 6:09 remaining, and they trail by 16. Lots of time left for the Stampeders.
Maurice Smith
58-yard kickoff by Mark McLaughlin.
taking McLaughlin's kick. 26-yard return.
34-yard return.
So 6:03 to go. Lions have the ball and the lead by 16. It's 42-26.
Well, what Doug Flutie can rely on now, I mean, he's a great passer. I mean, obvious to his statistics this year, but they have a solid running game, too. You know, they're third in the league coming into this week's action, rushing the football. So if he wants to try and grind it up and take some time off this clock, he has the kind of running game that can do that.
Lions first and 10 at the 42. And run they will. John Volpe, first down. Volpe breaks another tackle. He is inside the Stampeder 50. Stopped by Kenton Leonard.
A gain of 19 yards on the play. The BC Lions first down.
Good gain.
Yeah, great block, too, by the left guard, Jamie Terrace. Watch him come down the line of scrimmage as Warnock comes across the line. Let it roll. He absolutely crunches Warnock. Actually, it wasn't Warnock. It was the linebacker. Nevertheless, solid block by Jamie Terrace on the trap. And, of course, when the BC Lions want to, they are very effective running the football.
5:12 to go, fourth quarter. The Lions leading 42-26. First down, BC. And this is Volpe once more. Another Lion first down. Greg Peterson makes the stop. 13th carry of the day for John Volpe.
Volpe comes up a little nicked on that play, but you know who always does a good job on that BC Lion offense is Chris Skinner and his blocking. Watch where he kicks out Mark Singer right there, stays with him, and everybody else hustling Jamie Terrace downfield, and back-to-back running plays for John Volpe. You keep the drives going, you keep the clock running. A lot of positive things happen when you can run the football.
13 carries for Volpe now, 69 yards his total, and he'll get a breather here. Keyman Jenkins has had a good day for the Calgary Stampeders. Here's how they stack up. Jenkins has 80 yards on 11 carries. Both runners have a touchdown. First and 10 this time. Flutie will put it up. Matt Clark inside the 15. Stopped there by Darrell Hall. 21 yards for Matt Clark and the Lions. 0 in and another touchdown here.
Well, Doug Flutie's gone to the play action all day. Here's Matt Clark. He's going to end up coming over the middle, but what the play action does is really frees these linebackers right here. It just doesn't allow them to get back into the coverage. See, they're watching into the backfield. They don't get a deep enough pass drop. There's a huge area for Matt Clark to find, and of course that's what the play action has done to Calgary all afternoon.
And here are the BC Lions, first and 10, Calgary 12. This is Chris Skinner heading for the end zone. He's in. Skinner's second touchdown of the season from 12 yards away. And the Stampeders are all but cooked at 48-26.
What a great run by Chris Skinner here. He gets a chance to handle the football, and he has enough speed as a fullback that once he hits it up in there and sees it plugged up, he can get to the outside and into the end zone, and that is tremendous athletic ability. Nice to see him get a touchdown today. He has blocked his heart out for John Volpe, and now he gets some fun.
He doesn't get to carry the ball very much. 26 carries, 132 yards coming into this one. He has a touchdown there. Lou Pasaglia adds one more to his record total.
The score, BC Lions 49, Calgary
49-27. The Lions coming back. 49-26. Lions lead the Stampeders. Sean Beals on this kick return for Calgary. Out to about the 28.
Yard kickoff by Louis Pasaglia to Sean Beals. Returned at 12 yards. Tackled by Remy Trudeau, the BC.
You know, when you look at Calgary today, you're talking about a defense that only gives up about an average of just a little over 30 points a day, or a game rather. And here have the BC Lions been able to come into their home turf and put 49 up on the board. They have a tough offense to try and defense.
First and 10 for Steve Taylor and the Stampeders. For Bland, and that'll be a Calgary first down.
Complete to Carl Bland.
Lions leading
18 yards on the play.
49-26, 23-point advantage.
And the BC Lions secondary is going to be very content to keep receivers like Carl Bland in front of them. Don't let anybody get in behind you and make a mistake to let Calgary get into this game once again.
Spalatini, his first reception of the day. Has not seen a great deal of action this afternoon. There's a penalty marker down. And I think the penalty will go against the Stampeders. Holding should be the call. Well, the Lions will have a share of top spot in the West following this football afternoon at McMahon in Calgary with a record of 9-5. Like the Stampeders and like the Edmonton Eskimos. Three-way tie for top spot. Will Tony play? Tony Kimbrough, the backup to Doug Flutie, has not seen a lot of action.
The unknown backup to Doug Flutie. He has thrown like what, 5 balls this year? Something like that?
Yeah, the totals are not really impressive for Kimbrough. Actually, I think he's 100%. One pass, one completion.
He's thrown one pass, you're right.
There's the score. The Lions trailed at the half by a couple. And Flutie came out and put on a great show in the second half. Doug Flutie good on 17 of 21, 263 yards, second half alone. It looks like with Kimbrough warming up on the sidelines, Flutie might take a rest. Now it's first and a bunch for the Stampeders. Spallettini couldn't make the catch.
It's
second and 25 now.
Bench on the coverage.
A long way back for the Calgary Stampeders. It looks like they'll have company in first place in the West when this is over. Larry Rickman, soon to be the owner of the Calgary Stampeders. He was a little happier at halftime when his team had the lead. But he should be good for football in Calgary. He's got a pretty good plan. And hopefully the Stampeders will be able to turn around their financial fortunes. Last 2 seasons on the football field, they've been a great team.
He's got a pretty good deal, too. I mean, he gets to pay back the loans based on future profits of the club, so it's kind of a sweetheart deal in that respect for Larry Rickman. Government of Alberta guaranteeing loans through some banks, and if they turn a profit, they will be repaid. If not, it's not a bad deal.
Actually, when they turn a profit, I would
when they
suppose,
turn a profit,
yeah. 2:52 to go, fourth quarter. Stampeders in trouble now with 49 points on the board by the BC Lions. And the Lions did all the damage in the second half, particularly the third quarter. 3 straight touchdowns. What can Steve Taylor do on 2nd and 25? Perhaps escape and get half of it back. Well, they got about 15 yards, but it'll be 3rd and 10.
yards of the play. Brigance on the tackle for the BC Lions.
BC Lion defense is really an aggressive defense. I mean, when you get into their linebacking core, you got some guys that really like to put some tattoos on you. Bruce Holmes, O.J. Brigance, Paul Wetmore, and Steve Taylor found that out when he got into the secondary. He got hit by about 3 or 4 guys.
In the lineup today, I can only see Belanger and Derek McCready as guys, and Wetmore as BC Lion defenders who were in those spots last year. Flag is down on Jefferson's return. Stampeders will be caught for no yards. Look at that Lion defense. There's almost all new.
Yeah, they are, and although Stu Hill is a proven veteran, he is new to that scheme.
Yeah, Jefferson is a veteran, and Petway. Oh, Jefferson was there last year.
Yep.
Petway wasn't, right?
Petway came over from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but they had so many unanswered positions at the beginning of the year that have been answered nicely by their rookies, and that's the reason why they are going to be tied for first place. And Tony Kimbrough gets a chance to play here in the fourth quarter. I think it's a good move by Bob Abilovich. Doug Flutie has had a great afternoon passing, and now with just a few minutes remaining, do not take any chances and give the other guy a chance to play and have some fun. And it's fun when you're winning.
Tony Kimbrough, good fake on his first play, and his pass was off target.
Now at quarterback for the BC Lions. Pass incomplete.
Intended for Spencer McLennan, number 16. He too getting a chance to see some duty late in this football afternoon at McMahon in Calgary. 2:20 to go. Lions in complete control at 49-26. Kenton Leonard is the injured Stampeder. Difference in this ballgame really occurred in the second half, and Flutie to Flutie, Flutie to Flutie, Flutie to Flutie worked pretty well.
Those are some great numbers by both brothers. 12 catches, 216 yards, and more than half the yardage that Doug Flutie threw for this afternoon went to his brother. That's kind of interesting.
Coming into the game, Darren Flutie had 20 receptions, 304 yards, and a couple of TDs. He has 2 touchdown catches from big brother Doug here this afternoon. Doug, 4 years older than Darren. They played together 1 year, Doug's senior year and Darren's freshman year at Boston College.
Right? Well, Darren Flutie now in the 4 games that he has played, 32 receptions, and I think the forgotten aspect about the BC Lions is the fact that Ray Alexander has not played in the last 3 weeks, and of course he was right up with the league leaders, and they have been able to fill the void so nicely with Darren Flutie coming into the lineup.
Kimbrough keeps himself on 2nd and 10.
Kimbrough gain of 5 yards on the play.
He'll have 5, but the Lions will kick it away with 2:16 remaining.
3rd down.
Next week, the Ottawa Rough Riders play the Calgary Stampeders. And the first of 2 games against the Edmonton Eskimos for the BC Lions will be at BC Place, Edmonton and BC, next week, week 15 in the CFL. Saglia, a nice easy motion and a deep kick inside the 15. Carl Bland. And Bland has some room down the sidelines and cuts it in. One man to beat. Saglia slowed him down enough for Paul Whitmore to catch him from behind.
Returned 47 yards.
Saglia just stood in his way and waited for a little help.
First and 10.
Well, it looked initially, though, Carl Bland was just trying to get to the sidelines to stop the clock, but all of a sudden the wall forms, and he's able to cut it upfield and back in. Watch the move, Louis, here. Oh, Louis, come on.
Louis got a hand on him, though.
Yeah, he did.
Ferocious tackler. Minute 49 to play. Stampeders are down by a bunch. First and 10, Calgary. At the 50, Steve Taylor in a quarterback. Taylor with all kinds of time. Has a completion to Carl Bland, I believe, number 85. Yes.
Complete to Carl Bland, tackled by Lonnie Finch.
Pretty nice coverage there by Lonnie Finch, and that just really won't get it done with a little minute and a half remaining. The fact that Carl Bland has to get deeper, the offense has to get deeper, and the clock will keep running. Couldn't get out of bounds.
7th catch of the day for Carl Bland. He has 91 yards. Minute 39 to go. Out pattern, Bland has his 8th catch.
That's a great catch. Stay in bounds. Stops the clock. I kind of think this is all academic, but nevertheless, he did get out of the bounds and stop the clock on that one.
Yeah, points aren't going to matter much in this one because the points for the Calgary Stampeders to cut down the differential. They've already won 3 games from the Lions, so the season series already belongs to Calgary. Hard to believe the only team in the CFL that the Lions were unable to beat was the Calgary Stampeders until today. They lost 3 in a row, 2 of those in overtime. And Wally Buono was telling us yesterday that had the Cards fallen a different way, the Lions were in position to win all 3 of those games. But they have won this one. A minute 21 to go. Rush is on Taylor. He gets away. Can he get away from Whitmore? Yes. And he finds Alan Pitts out at the 9-yard line. A minute 7 to go. So the Stampeders have a shot at a touchdown before bidding farewell to the BC Lions.
Steve Taylor did a lot of running to get that ball off to Alan Pitts.
Pitts has not had his usual stellar afternoon here today. He is the #1 receiver in the CFL. Dropped a couple of balls early. He's made some catches. 6 for 109 yards. Guess that's not bad in the final analysis, and the touchdown there. Alan Pitts. Steve Taylor to Alan Pitts. And it's 42-39 with a minute 2 to go. 10-yard touchdown.
Pretty nice drive put together by Steve Taylor here. It may be a little too late, but nevertheless, Alan Pitts will come underneath the coverage of Norman Jefferson. He works to the inside. A good throw where only Pitts can make the catch, and he has his 2nd of the day, 12th of the year. All kinds of good things for Alan Pitts. He's now 1 catch away from Terry Everson's single-season club mark.
Taylor has engineered 2 touchdowns, gets the 2-point convert there. Sean Beals.
And now you will definitely see an onside kick.
The score, the BC Lions 49, Calgary Stampeders 34.
49-34.
Watch how,
minute 2 to go.
Watch how hard Alan Pitts works against Norman Jefferson. Takes him downfield, cuts underneath, and then a ball that is perfectly thrown low and away. Pitts makes the catch.
He's a catch away from Evan Shand's record, set in 1967. Ahead of your old pal Bobby Taylor there, too.
Yeah, he's up on the board there. 74 catches. 74 in 1963. Let me tell you, that was a lot of catches. The game has changed since then.
Since Bobby played?
Oh, yeah, they throw the ball tons more than they did back then.
Lions lead it by 15 at 49-34.
Oh, this is a play I love to watch. Little flip it up in the air and see who can get it.
It'll be BC ball. No one touched it.
Jay Christensen, I think, maybe got a hand on it and sacrificed himself. Yes, he did. He paid the price for that. He took a tremendous shot. He was exposed up there as he put the right hand up and tipped it away. Took one for the team right there. There's Jay just standing waiting for it. There he goes up and boom, he gets smacked by number 29.
Paul
Clatney, yeah.
So the Lions have possession inside Calgary territory, just at the 53 of the Stampeders.
220! 220!
The final minute now. Skinner carries.
Kent Warnock on the tackle for the Stamps.
57 seconds to go. Well, Obi has finally beaten the Calgary Stampeders this year.
$49-34,
49-34, Lions in the lead and running out the clock. 2nd and 6 here. Ryan Hansen trying to get a first down. He comes up a little short. Slowed down by Alondra Johnson, number 51.
Gain of 2 yards on the play. Tackled by Alondra Johnson. 3rd down, BC Lions.
31 seconds to go.
Cover this bitch!
Obi's done a great job with the BC Lions since taking over. With 7 games remaining last year, his record was 4-3 last season, and it improves to 9-5 in 1991.
Well, I think Bill Quinter, who's their director of player personnel, deserves some credit too. He has been able to provide the club with some outstanding rookies here this year that have really panned out for them.
Well, when you look down the list, we've mentioned them all afternoon. Matt Clark, number 85. John Volpe, number 23. Mike Trevathan, 77. And then on defense, you've got O.J. Brigance. When the postseason awards are handed out after this season, I think you might see a couple of BC Lions up on the podium.
Well, there'll certainly be some interesting nominations in the Western Conference this year.
123!
Saglia booms it, and it's ruled out at the 4. 17 seconds left for the Calgary Stampeders.
By Louis Pasaglia. No return. 1st down, Stampeders. The ball at their 6-yard line.
So Calgary, a team that started off with an unbeaten season through the first 6 weeks, has been caught by the Eskimos and by the BC Lions here today. 3-way tie for top spot.
Yeah, they started off 6-0. Then they lost back-to-back games with Winnipeg to drop to 6-2. Then they got their act together and put a few wins together. Now they they got pretty well trounced today by BC. BC total control in the second half of this game.
Dave Sapunjas.
Taylor pass played to David Sapunjas.
And 12 seconds remain now. Stampeders did have the lead by a couple of points at halftime, but the BC Lions came on and stormed through the second half. Doug Flutie had a great day, so did his brother Darren. And there they are. Brothers Flutie. Taylor on the option, flips it out. Randy McVeigh. And that should about do it. Time has expired on the Stampeders, and the BC Lions have roared back. for an impressive victory this afternoon. The Lions beat the Stampeders for the first time in 4 tries, and they beat them handily, 49-34.